Isn't this fun?
I love
Are we
technology.
live?
Don't
I
we
like that.
We are live.
Ah,
And we have
hello.
an excellent connection.
Hot dog.
You say that like that's not the case.
Wanderer has asked for me to launch Alex into space. I don't want to do that. Alex did wonderful CT segmentations that enabled us to write a Nature paper.
If you
I
want
did.
us to launch Alex into space, then I would recommend if you donate high enough, we'll consider it.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
life is worth
I don't know.
a few thousand.
Yeah, donate in chat to see how much Alex's life is worth. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
total
what is the value of a human life?
what is the value of a human life?
Cheaper
So
every day.
before we start, I just want to ask: is the audio,
We're
the
the
background
skeleton
audio
crew.
on Wingspan, is that an okay level? Or is it too loud? Is it too quiet? If it's too quiet, that's not a problem. It's not too loud, right? It's hard for me to tell.
Is this for us or the
This is
stream?
for the stream.
For chat. That's a question to chat. Chat's very concerned about the state of Amelia. They say can't hear it at all.
Can't hear it at all?
This-
That's okay. I'll turn it up a little bit.
The state of Amelia is Kansas.
$20 to launch
Thank you,
Alex into
Draco
space.
Master, for the Alex Space Launch Funds.
Oh my god.
It's a step in the right direction.
Oh, you know why you can't hear anything from the game? It's because the application audio capture seems to have broken.
Cool.
Well, good thing this isn't an audio-heavy game.
I was going to ask if there are important audio cues, but I guess
Not,
that's good.
not really.
Neat.
All right, here it's now on.
Hooray.
So that's good. Thank you, Draco Master. So so to answer the questions about what happened to Amelia, Amelia is in Kansas right now, and
Which
I
is
think she's
accurately depicted in the portrait.
exactly
Which is, also as close as you can get to launching someone into space.
right.
Besides donating to our.
So she can't join because the Wi-Fi where she is isn't strong enough, and because she's got camp counselor responsibilities for the Sternberg camps that she's teaching at right now, so she needs to be available.
She
but
said she might be in chat.
she might be in chat. I don't know if she's gonna be in chat, but she might be in chat.
Yeah.
As much as she's able to be. And now here we are in
Here we
Wingspan.
We're playing
Here we
Wingspan,
are.
folks.
That we are.
Well, how about that?
So I can see my little table here. This is very fun.
It is.
Amelia is in chat. Hooray.
Hot dog.
That's
Alex,
great.
I think it's you. I think you're the yellow duck, correct?
It looks like
I
it's
am the yellow
Alex's
duck.
turn.
Okay, so
I will
you have
press
to.
X to start the turn.
Yeah. So it's going to let you choose 5 things off of the gate. Alex, you've never played this before, correct?
No. I did attempt to read the rules on my walk home, and I understand there are habitats, and I have to activate powers in habitats.
Yes. So
Yeah.
so you see the little number of 8 next to your blue cube on the right hand side.
Yes, yes.
That's how many turns there are in the round. So there are 8 turns in this one, and it decreases going through. Every turn you can do one thing. You can either place a bird in one of your habitats by
Gotcha.
paying its associated food and egg costs, or you can activate the habitats to get food from the woodlands, eggs from the prairie, or new birds from the wetlands.
Yes. I remember that. Okay.
Yeah. And at the start of the game, right now, you'll be asked to pick 5 things from among, I think you've drawn 3 birds, and then all of the different food types. So you can pick, theoretically, you could pick 5 food and no birds. Or you could pick 5 birds, no food, but you'll probably want a balance of the 2.
Excellent. Okay. And then I assume food is cherries or fish or.
It's berries, grains, invertebrates.
Okay, got you.
fish,
This is all-
and,
okay.
Yeah.
And rats.
And rats. Also, hello everybody.
Yeah, hello.
We got quite a few people coming
Yes.
in.
We will engage a bit more. We will definitely engage more with chat, I think, once the game gets flowing a little bit. But we've kind of
Yes.
got some technical hurdles and getting started hurdles that we've been overcoming with. So
Sorry about that, guys.
It's not your fault, Scott.
Yes. It
Now I know.
it took us. Well, yeah, it is not Scott's fault, but it also did take us 25 minutes to actually get the game to allow us to all join a game together.
that
Okay,
was
I've selected my things, and now I'm. choose one. Oh, I get a bonus card. I probably
Yeah, so
shouldn't
you,
tell you
like-
what this is, right?
No, yeah, they're like hidden personal objectives.
So
How's
do we get
everybody
to, like,
feeling
see
today?
everybody else's like stuff on the table, or does that not happen?
On the table, yes.
Yes.
It's if you look up at the top, you can see the little people's player icons, and if you click on those, you'll be able to take a look at their board states.
Okay, and now I've passed to you, James.
Okay, so I'm clicking to start turn. So I can choose 5 things to keep.
Swamp Ape, no, we're just doing base game for right now because this is half of our first time playing, and we wanted to just keep it basic.
50.
And thank God, because we don't have to worry about nectar.
Oh goodness, is Nectar bonkers?
It's just a different resource that kind of changes the flow of the game a little bit. The game I played earlier today, someone had the Oceania expansion, and so there was nectar involved.
Yeah. Oh, Jurassic Cannon King, you're gonna have to leave. Oh, sad.
That is sad.
Yeah. I'm happy that we're streaming again. It's been a hot minute. I missed you guys.
Yes.
And we have a cool reason to be streaming because a couple of our crewmates have a new paper out. So, yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, we do.
That I'm sure
But
they will
what's-
talk about when it's not their turn.
Probably.
Yes. That could happen.
It's my turn now, so I'm in focus mode.
James, you already got some questions aimed at you.
Oh, do I?
Yeah.
Oh, what is...
Dino Drawer 66 asks James, "What's your opinion on Konkulu?"
It's a cool discovery. It's a specimen that I've seen some pictures of before. I've never been able to actually get the original paper on it that may be in Russian. I'm not really sure. But it's wonderful to see the material get like detailed attention. Jared is a great Tyrannosaur researcher, and he did a wonderful job documenting the specimen and wrote a kick-ass paper about it. So it's really cool to see it published. It's certainly going to fit in with my own research in various ways, but that'll be for another stream. But thank you for the question.
I saw Empirexy asked what the game's about. So Wingspan is basically about filling an ecosystem with birds and trying to do a better job of doing that than everybody else.
Yes, it's an engine builder game, which is cool because I like those kinds
But
of
the
games.
engines are made of birds.
Yes.
Also, Turbo Treehouse asked about the paper on Scotty and his healed rib. I don't know what you're talking about. I've never broken a rib in my life.
I'm coming over to your house right now to beat you with a bat.
You can try.
Or
Well, no,
move
Scott.
suddenly.
Scott, don't you remember? Because we don't have knowledge of foreshortening or anything. Alex is the largest crewmate, as we saw in the video of us all
Yeah.
together.
Oh, right.
Where Alex,
You have no
being
chance.
closest to the camera, appears to be about 8.5 feet tall.
That was also I did also really find that one comment funny of just like, oh no, James seems tiny, and you responded with, I really shouldn't have put myself furthest from the camera.
Yeah, I shouldn't have. I
That
didn't
was
realize that.
really funny.
That was pretty funny. Alternatively, Scott, instead of your friend beating you with the bat, your friend could throw a rock at you from a distance.
And it hit me directly in the skull.
That's true. And you
How's
know,
that for
I
pathology?
couldn't have done that if I had tried.
Alrighty, let's see. I will.
Wander is
Shoot the
asking to the paper publishers, so I will not weigh in because I did not publish this paper.
Silence.
Wanderer is asking, at what point do you see a dinosaur and go, that's just a bird?
Ooh.
Ooh.
I have a thought on this, but I was not asked, so I won't share it.
Well,
So do I. But first author goes first.
the first author does go first. I would say it depends on exactly what you mean by that, because many dinosaurs look a hell of a lot like birds, and I would say things like Velociraptor and Citipati and Caudipteryx. I might say that's just a bird. in a kind of joking or flippant way, or to help people understand how bird-like they are. Phylogenetically, I would call it a bird when in my phylogenetic analysis it winds up in the clade Aviale, which is generally what we consider to be birds. That's my answer. I know that's kind of boring.
What a nerd answer.
I know.
Boo!
I know. Phylogenetic classification at the Skeleton Crew.
More likely
Ain't so.
This is actually funny because I think I gave a tour at the Peabody last week and I got into this discussion. I can't remember with who. Because we were pointing to things, and I pointed to Hesperornis, the skeleton of Hesperornis, which is this weird swimmy Cretaceous bird, like a giant loon. And I said, this is essentially a bird. And then it was like, well, it's not like in crown, it's not a crown bird, and it's got teeth. But I think James isn't wrong in Aviale being a helpful place to start, but the issue is that there are so many things that just look like Archaeopteryx. In my heart of hearts, once the tail is short, once you get to like Pygostylia, I begin to say this is just a bird.
Alex, you read my mind because my cutoff is Pygostylia. I'm like,
Based.
then it's a bird.
I was gonna say, but aren't there non-birds that have short tails? Hoi 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 hoi.
Not in the same way.
I know. I was just being pedantic.
Yeah. No,
Shallow and pedantic.
It's not Pygostylia is not a bad answer. The reason I don't like it is that excludes Archaeopteryx, and I think it's much more difficult to be like.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Archaeopteryx looks in many ways more like a small Troodontid or Dromaeosaur than like what we consider a bird now. But the inertia that I have of like whatever kind of the least inclusive clade that makes Archaeopteryx a bird is what birds are. That's kind of why I say Aviale.
Nathan says Dinosaurus has a pygostyle, so it's a bird.
No.
A lot of there are a lot of organisms on the line that have technically have a pygostyle, but
I have a pygostyle. Does that make me a bird?
there we go. He did it. Sorry, I'm choosing my food from my Boyd feeder.
No, I think I'm fine in my mind holding the two truths at the same time, which is that Archaeopteryx is the first bird, but Archaeopteryx is not a bird. And I'm just okay with that.
Respect. Okay.
That is fair.
Picked food from the
Dalton is a
feeder.
bird confirmed. Yes.
I've said this many times.
Mm-hmm. He's very stressed. That's why he's plucked out all of his feathers.
What am I doing?
Behold, a bird.
Oh, so I can't look at Alex's cards. Okay.
Like, I mean...
No, you can look at them
according
once
to-
they're played.
According to Diogenes, if it is a plucked chicken is behold a man, then a feathered man is behold a bird. So,
Indeed.
checkmate atheists.
Jurassic Canon King, it is on Steam. Yes. It's also on consoles. Alex is playing on PlayStation.
And on
Playing on my
physical.
PS5.
It's
It
on
is also-
paper.
Yeah, there's a physical board game of it too.
Which I played the other weekend for the first time, and I liked it quite a lot. Which is, I think, why we're doing this, because I discovered it's a good game.
It is.
Yeah, this is my first time playing it.
Dalton, remind me, I can't play a bird and do something else in the same turn, right?
Nope. You can only
Nope.
play a bird.
Boyd.
Okay.
Oh, I could just watch the stream and see what everyone's cards are.
You would see
can
my
what
cards.
James's cards.
Right.
Well, yeah, but it'll be your turn soon.
It won't show up on.
Oh,
James,
it's just hosting him. That's
Yeah.
a bummer.
We've been asked by the Dino Drawer what our favorite cocktails are. If we enjoy cocktails.
Oh,
I do enjoy
this is a good
cocktails.
question.
It's a good question.
It depends. Actually, my favorite cocktail that I've had was this cocktail from the bar, The Last Word in Ann Arbor. It's a little speakeasy, and they have this cocktail called the Osborne that is absolutely fantastic. It has there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. There's jalapeno and pineapple and gin and ginger beer, and it's garnished with a cucumber slice, and it's phenomenal. It's a pain to make, but it kicks ass, and it's probably my favorite cocktail I've ever had. But if I'm just going out to a bar, my drink of choice is either a Manhattan or an old fashioned, depending on how I'm feeling.
Both good choices.
Fair choices, Scott. I'm an old-fashioned head myself. That or it's either that or a classic rum and coke, which is the beverage of chill times.
It is a chill time beverage.
Yeah, a rum and coke is great. I do like old fashions quite a lot. One of my favorite, like, I guess, experiences getting a cocktail is just there's this wonderful bar up in Harlem I went to a few times during my PhD, where they do like very, very smoky cocktails, like where they they infuse the wood smoke and everything. And I love that whole experience quite a lot. I like smoky liquor in general, so I think that's great.
James, are you a mezcal fan?
I am a mezcal fan.
I figured.
I'm a mezcal enjoyer. But actually, my favorite cocktail is completely on the other axis. I don't know if we're counting a mojito, but I love a mojito. I know.
Why would you not count a mojito as a cocktail?
I don't know if cocktail has some new special millennial definition.
Does
where it's not
technically
a mixed drink
does
is
have
a cocktail. Yeah, I don't know.
No, it's if memory serves, this might even be according to the Savoy cocktail book that a cocktail is.
I have played a bird.
It's like a spirit and a sugar and a juice or something.
It has to have a
memory
spirit.
serves. Yeah.
Certainly.
But yeah, the cocktail's more of a vibes thing.
Yeah. Often, I think the most prescriptive definition is like spirit, sugar, water, and bitters.
Yes. But it doesn't. Yeah, like not all cocktails have bitters, all that sort of stuff, and if you're making a mixed drink, do you go? I made a black and tan. Behold, it's a cocktail. It's like, nah, it's just 2 beers.
Ooh, what do I want to do? Boy pouty.
Oh man, y'all are just making me think of other cocktails I really like. There's one of the places around here, a place called the Hourly Oyster House, has these blood orange Negronis on tap, and they're fantastic. I am a Negroni fan. I think a Boulevardier is a slightly better drink, but I do like a good Negroni.
Ooh.
I think
thank you, David.
I think overall,
thank you, David.
I mean, I like an old fashioned or a Manhattan. Those are very good. I think in the terms of a very traditional prescriptive cocktail, if I was to follow that definition only, it would be a Sazerac.
Oh, very good.
We went to the Sazerac house in New Orleans and did like a Sazerac making course, which was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
But
do they down there? Do they do the whole thing with it's an absinthe wash that then you throw out, that you dump out?
It's to your choice. I mean, that's the traditional way, but you can do it just with absinthe in it, which is what I prefer.
I like it with a little absinthe in it too, and I hate dumping a spirit out. So like,
especially
I have
one as expensive as absinthe.
Yeah, so I have my when I'm making Sazeracs, I have my absinthe in a little perfume bottle, so I just spray the inside of the glass with it. But continue, please.
But in terms of like more of a go-to cocktail, either a rum and coke if I'm doing a well thing, or a Mai Tai. I like tropical drinks. I like island drinks.
Oh, tiki bar fan.
They're just so nice.
Pretty. Sticky, we did not talk about the thing yet. If the thing by which you are referring to is the paper, we've mentioned that it exists. We have not talked in depth about it yet.
Yes.
Yeah. No, yeah, we haven't.
And Jurassic Canon has asked where they can read it.
I'm pulling up the link to it right now. I was going to put at least the link to nature. I'm going to put it in chat.
Alex, give me a moment. I might be able to just tell me if it becomes my turn. I'm going to see. I might have the read-only link that they can use to read it for free. It just means
okay. That might make everyone's life easier.
That's handy because it's not open access, correct?
No, because
well, there's reasons.
The reasons are financial.
It's because elitist James Napoli hates you, the common people.
That's what it is.
And while James is looking for that link and Alex is taking his turn, the Dino Drawer has asked each of us had to fight our mascot creature around the same size as you. Who is more likely to win? Probably me.
Probably you.
I think I think I could fight a
Oh, the
person-sized
animal's the same
gecko.
size? Okay.
I think I'd have a really hard time fighting a 6-foot cetacean, regardless of its
Yeah.
teeth.
What if you get out of the water?
That's
Well,
if you're on like a whaling boat, you probably have the best chance of all.
Well, yes. If I'm on a whaling boat, then it's a lock for me. If I'm in its element, then I'm not touching that thing. And if I'm picturing me just dragging a weird dolphin up onto a beach and
Let me see.
yeah. Which one of us has an ankylosaurus? Is it?
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to die.
A person-sized ankylosaurus is it's basically fighting a log.
So
Actually, yeah, I think a person-sized ankylosaurus actually makes me more of a believer in fighting it.
Would you rather fight 5 person?
I think I'm getting the worst deal here.
or...
Yeah, because yours is
Because like
is vicious and
life-size
gets bigger.
Jungursuchus, you could basically step on. But yeah, and a me-sized Jungursuchus is very scary.
It's like a reptilian warg.
Yeah, it's basically It's
okay.
It's just like
I found it,
thin
everybody.
Postosuchus.
If you want to read the paper, you can just click the link that I just sent in chat, and that is a read-only version, so you can't download the PDF without like paying for access or having institutional access, but you can read the paper like that. So just leave the tab open if you don't want to read it now.
You should pin the link.
You could pin. Oh, I could pin the link. I was like, yeah, you should.
I can't, but you could.
It's
Okay,
been
sorry.
pinned.
So there are feathers flying out of a card. I'm trying to figure out what is happening. Is that my power?
Possibly. I don't know what you're doing.
I don't know what I'm doing either.
Did you activate your green? Did you activate your get food?
I did.
Okay, well, so that means when you do that, your house finch has a power. You can choose to tuck a bird card behind the house finch, and if you do that, then you draw a new bird card from the deck.
Oh. Okay, very interesting. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do that.
Tucked cards each count as a point when we tally up like victory points.
Gotta say, attractive arachnid.
Why are you so far away, Scott?
Why am I so far away? What happened?
Then you're back
Oh,
now.
sweet.
Weird. Huh. I don't know what happened. Attractive Arachnid said that traumatized Gigantoraptor is sad that Amelia has been... I imagine that means you're supposed to say cast from the group. But this is not a Gigantoraptor. Amelia is being played by a Citipati.
Yes. The Citipati that friend of the channel, Henry Sharp, painted for this paper.
Friend of the channel.
Yes. Because not every time that you see an Oviraptor without a head crest is it Gigantoraptor. Because James can talk about that.
Well, Citipati just didn't have one. Everybody gets it wrong. It didn't have... Novoraptor didn't have it either. Prehistoric Kingdom modified the designs, presumably after they heard me complaining about this in one of the videos. The concept art for the new Oviraptor doesn't have a head crest. Citipati doesn't. That painting is based on a 3D model of the Citipati holotype skull that Henry could pose in 3D space so he could light it properly. I should do something in Wingspan.
Whoa, the logo of the game is one of the cards we can draw right now.
Oh,
whoa.
The scissor-tailed flycatcher.
That's cool.
Oh, interesting.
We're blowing everybody's minds in chat that Citipati does not have a head crest.
Yep.
Or well, Oviraptor doesn't have a head crest is what is being said right now, which
Oviraptor barely has a head.
You guys, actually you can Google what the actual holotype skull of Oviraptor looks like, and it's 12
bone fragments looked at through a kaleidoscope. That's at least how how Osborne described it.
Yeah, it's not a lot. I should mention Oviraptor, the head crest, the region where the head crest would be is not fully preserved, and so it is theoretically possible that it had one. However, based on like where it goes in the phylogeny, it probably doesn't have a head crest. It seems to actually be a close relative of Citipati, and it's in a group where nothing has a head crest at that point.
Head crest listed Seattle.
In head Creatle.
We have. What are our thoughts on Lokiceratops? And do you think other recently described animals should be added to Jurassic World Evolution 3? I
Yes,
think
they
it looks
should.
nice, and I don't think they should add any new species to this game, so we don't have to make more.
No, there should
want joking.
definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Add
There
them.
should definitely be some newly discovered species in the game, like a certain mosasaur.
Or a
Would be
small
neat.
velociraptorine from.
Or
That too.
consider the following: add lizards to the game in
Lizards.
a small animal display.
A feeder for Kuru.
I
The
was
lizard feeder.
I was joking with Alex and Dalton last week when we were coming back from viewing the new Jurassic World movie. Of that, like one of these days we're gonna hit it big and we're gonna have a skeleton crew pack in Jurassic World Evolution 3, and it's gonna be Kuru, it's gonna be Jungurasuchus, it's gonna be Helioscopos, and then they're going to add me as the only fossil preparator type, so you can overwork me.
Yeah.
They'll add me as a scientist, and it'll be great. It's like you can just hire Scott, and then because of the scientist working system in that game, you could overwork me,
I can work him to the bone.
and then I'll sabotage the plates.
The game will be like, you can employ the Scott character, but he's free, but he has to do every job. So you have to send him in to change the feeders or whatever. If that's
You're
still a
not allowed
feature.
to hire other staff.
Yeah, I also think if they're adding species, adding recently named species that are visually interesting is cool. I think that's fine.
Yeah. Wink. They should do a. No.
Well, I don't even mean like I don't even mean our stuff. I just think like
I
it's well, I mean I would love that, but I just think it's a good way to keep people engaged with paleontology. It's nice to be adding new famous dinosaurs, right? It doesn't happen enough, right? Everybody's still talking about the ones that were made popular by Jurassic Park. It's nice to see a Jurassic Park property that might be making new things more famous. That would be nice.
Shark King asks, do you think we could get Shantungosaurus and Torvosaurus in the game? Maybe.
Well, maybe it'd be cool.
I don't know.
That-
It'd be rad. I like Shantungosaurus and Torvosaurus.
Duonicus would be cool, Nathan, to put in the game.
Oh wow, that would actually be really awesome.
Duonicus would be fun. I think
Yeah.
that would be a cool one.
It's a little guy too.
Oh yeah, it's small, right?
For Therizinosaur, yeah. We had a question of, and I think Dino Drawer asked this, but it's been a while. But I liked the question, and it's stuck in my craw. But what Cretaceous birds would we like to see added to Wingspan?
Ooh.
And I think that would be very fun. I think like Hesperornis would be cool. Confuciusornis would be cool because I like their tail.
That's really interesting. This is now making me think of like if you were to do a Mesozoic version of Wingspan.
Oh, I have given legitimate serious thought to proposing that to the people who made it because I think Wormspan was something that someone else came up with and then came to them with the idea and they produced it. So patent pending. No one. There's a dragon version. Which I have.
I thought
which
they were
want to play
worms.
No, WYRM.
I see.
Wormspan.
Worm.
But so no one steal this idea. This idea that everyone's had.
Original idea, do not
But
steal.
I think you could do a paleo version of Wingspan in a couple ways. Probably the easiest is like make each habitat like Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous.
Yeah.
and then you could have all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, because I think it would be interesting to have. Well, I mean, if you're going to do something with that theming in the Mesozoic, then it's fun to have birds and pterosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was just thinking it would be like time span, and it would just be all extinct things.
That's what I was thinking. James Time Span was the name I had thought of it. Everyone's stealing from me. Thanks, Jurassic Canon King.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it would be
Now,
fun
could
to have
I
like
refresh the
different
bird feeder?
abilities between birds and pterosaurs, and then, but yeah, there'd be flightless things and stuff. So I don't know, it'd be fun and weird.
I should probably play a card, but no, I'm going to continue buying new food.
Ooh,
I'm going to I'm refreshing the feeder.
I'm foodless in Seattle.
Oh, no.
I did also see AJ the Sleepy asked earlier, Scott, when overworked, what gate am I opening first? That is a very good question, and probably not something super dangerous. Probably just something that would be annoying to get, like maybe the Compy gate, just because there would be absolutely thousands of them, and you'd never find them all.
Do the thing where you label them like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 4.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, just a Sharpie on the side of each Compy as it's coming out.
I really like Kevin Prems. Would you still like me if I was a worm?
Yes, I just saw that. I just saw that shirt
Very
advertised to me. We had a question. Well, okay, we have a question that Kevin Preem is bumping from earlier, which is about Citipati, so I'm going to answer that one first.
By all means.
Would you agree that Citipati is an overall more dangerous animal than Gigantoraptor? Hard to tell. Gigantoraptor's much bigger, so it's going to be dangerous by virtue of being larger, right? Citipati being like person-sized, I don't know. We don't have any idea what a ratite that's like moa-sized would be like, and I guess this is kind of the operative thing. Is an animal like a moa as dangerous to a person, more or less, or the same as like an ostrich or a cassowary or an emu?
Well, we hunted one of them to extinction, so I think we kind of know.
We kind of know. I think Citipati was probably in the right size range where we would kind of encounter them. Like if they were still around, they'd be something that we could bump into in the woods that would think we're a threat to its young. I think things like Gigantoraptor would at the very least be more obvious to us, so we could avoid surprising them. And I think that if you startled a Citipati, you were probably going to learn how big its hand claws were very quickly. They're very big, and they're big animals. They're not that small.
Oh God,
no.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, easily like, I'm trying to think of an animal that's about the same size, like small black bear size. Like cassowary is the right shape.
Like...
Yeah, cassowary or emu sized. Like those aren't particularly small animals, and those with big hands with 3 hooked, very very sharp claws would be nasty.
There was just a question I saw earlier that might have been posted twice, so I just want to address. I guess multiple part question. The first part is about Camaryllosaurus and how big it is, to which I will tell you it's like 3 vertebrae and a rib, so I have no idea. And that's all I can say about that. As far as ornithopod mittens, we know hadrosaurs have them, and in some iguanodontians in the kind of classical sense that get closer to hadrosaurs, they begin to like have these closely oppressed little fingers. I don't think we found any flesh evidence of like a mitten in those guys, but you could maybe have something approaching it.
Probably, but also, right? Like I think, all hadrosaurs have like a mitten of some sort, but I think we've got direct evidence that the exact configuration of that is different among different hadrosaurs. Like
yes,
and Montosaurus looks different than Corythosaurus, at the very least. So,
Do we have one in Bactrosaurus?
I don't know.
A mitten?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
because that's another one of the mummies, right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of really well preserved Bactrosaurus, but I think if there's there might be a little skin, but it's not something quite like that.
I thought there was another named mummy that was It was another Saurolophine.
You're thinking of Brachylophosaurus. And I don't know.
Brachylophosaurus.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
I don't recall its hands. Because that's Leonardo, right?
Yes, that's what it was. Yes, because like I've definitely heard it said before. There was like, oh, Saurolophines have it this way, and Lambeosaurians have it this way, and I think that might be drawing lines between two pieces of data.
Probably. I don't. From the images I can find at a very surface level Googling, I don't think that the soft tissue is very well preserved at the end of Leonardo's hands.
Damn.
So it's hard to say. I could be wrong. Again, that is a very quick Google. And now I have to start my turn. I am... folks, let me tell you, this is not the most powerful game of Wingspan I've ever played.
Oh, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm having a great time.
Oh, I'm having fun. But I don't think I'm excelling. Well, what are we going to do? I think I should play a bird.
Gotta say, the art on house finches is a lot different than I would have. Oh wait, I'm thinking house sparrows. Never mind. I'm stupid.
You shouldn't have spoken.
I was like, man, that doesn't look like what I'm picturing.
So we've got a question about why are there no known predatory ornithischians?
Yeah, that's a good question.
That is a good question. Presumably the adaptations in their teeth. Well, first of all, it's possible things like Heterodontosaurus were still partially eating meat. Like,
yeah. And when they first appeared, they probably were carnivorous.
Yeah, but it does seem like like innovations in their teeth for oral processing of food and innovations in the jaws appear pretty early. And it's probably setting them on a path where it's just much easier to stay an herbivore. I'll say that, like, it's one of those interesting things. But it is kind of true that you don't generally see walks from herbivory to carnivory, but it's much more frequent to go from being a carnivore to being an herbivore. And I think that's probably because being a carnivore requires a lot less anatomical specialization. You know, like a carnivore, like, you know, dogs will sometimes eat grass if they're not feeling well. Like they can kind of do it. They're not doing it well. But there's so much that you modify to be an effective herbivore in terms of what you need to do to chew your food, that I think that's probably a one-way street where there's not really an easy way to walk backward along that trajectory and become better at eating meat. A horse can't really eat meat. So there's no way for it to survive the initial stage of that evolutionary trajectory.
Yeah.
And I think being predatory is the primitive, like if you were to do an ancestral state reconstruction, probably the primitive condition for most of reptiles.
I mean, tetrapods.
I think tetrapods.
Yeah, tetrapods,
amniotes,
vertebrates. Yeah. Eating meat is actually the original thing.
Because it takes, you got to do
Yeah,
extra,
the evolution of herbivory was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You got to add extra stuff if you want to eat plants.
And not just like dental stuff and like
No,
food processing,
like,
but like a lot of digestive soft tissue anatomy has to change.
how do I draw a new card?
You have to go to the swamp.
I'm in the swamp.
And you activate the swamp.
I don't.
You have to click the leftmost of the little slots there that isn't occupied by one of your birds.
Yeah, so click to the thing to the right of the green heron, Alex, and that will activate it.
Oh,
And,
I see.
And what that's telling you is when you click it, you can draw one bird, either one of the three face-up ones or one face down from the stack. You can also, at this level, exchange an egg. If you had an egg, you could exchange it to draw another bird.
I'm eggless in Yaddle. I'm going to get this scissor-tailed flycatcher. So I think he's neat.
Kevin Preem, we're not going to talk about the stuff from SVP this year because that is not published yet. But it sure is an interesting specimen. I'm looking forward to the paper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Wildlife Wire asked how the Blues Brothers are doing. For those of you not in the know, the Blues Brothers are my cats, Jake and Elwood, and they are doing great. Although I am starting to be really concerned about how intelligent Jake is, because Like he can be a little destructive when he's understimulated, but he's destructive in incredibly targeted ways. Like he'll chew out the bottom of one of my pockets in my jeans, so I put my phone in there and it just slides down to my boot, or like chew the back like little bit off of my socks so they don't sit nice. It's concerning. But I love them more than life itself.
They are delights. We have a super chat
Yeah.
from Cody Bishop who
Yes.
asks,
do.
Bishop.
what events would need to take place hypothetically if planet Earth were to become hospitable for dinosaurs to evolve again, or is it a non-starter?
Like humans would have to go extinct.
Yes,
It's
But,
also
like,
a non-starter.
it's a non-starter, but not, I think, for the reasons you're thinking. It's not, I would say, like an environmental thing. It's not that, as you know, as the newest Jurassic World might have you believe, it's not as if the modern world would be completely inhospitable to animals of the ilk of non-avian dinosaurs.
But the adaptive landscape is all wrong, as
The
they said.
Like the modern Earth, more or less, could support these kinds of animals. It's more of a factor of where, like, what would evolve into them. And if you're thinking of like birds kind of reacquiring like non-avian dinosaur traits, I don't want to say anything in biology is impossible, because that's when you are immediately proven wrong. But it is fairly remarkable that birds, like crown birds, have existed for essentially like 66 million years and have always just looked like birds. Like they've never really deviated from the plan in an extreme way. That makes me think that they're probably canalized pretty tremendously, like developmentally,
Yeah.
into
Like-
like changing into anything else.
I guess the closest that we've gotten to like non-avian dinosaur looking birds are the only examples I can think of are, of course, the terror birds. And even then they're just large predatory flightless birds. And then specifically like Pelagornis and the pseudotooth birds, like that's the closest that they've come to like air quotes re-evolving teeth.
Right. Cool birds are those.
Oh
They
yeah.
are cool birds.
Yeah, like pseudoteeth appear pretty frequently. Like Hesperornis also has them, right? Or are those just teeth?
No,
Those are just
Hesperornis has
teeth.
teeth.
Those are just teeth. Okay, but
Yeah.
pseudoteeth are not uncommon in the fossil record. I don't think it's just Pelagornis.
Yeah. And there's I guess the weird stuff that like the soft tissue air quotes teeth that
Well, right.
modern birds have.
Yeah, because I
Oh.
just saw this pop up in the chat. Geese do not have teeth. They have
No.
structures called tomia on their bills.
I forgot what those were called. Thank you, Alex.
But there's like a ton of solutions that have been made
Mhm.
in birds and some toothless groups, but in birds like keratin ridges or little ridges
Yeah.
on the bills,
But-
or keratin on their tongues.
Yeah.
But actual like within birds, like pseudoteeth are not particularly common. Like actually bony extensions of the bill are unique to wherever those pseudotooth birds
Pelagornithids,
go,
yeah.
because we have no idea.
But what I will say is, I think a beak is probably one of the better things to have. Like it's telling that so many lineages evolve a beak.
It's very
Yeah.
adaptable.
Right. It's a very versatile piece of like machinery. I think these questions about why doesn't something evolve again are like, they're very difficult to answer, because
They are.
the answer is like, you would need to get the right set of mutations that affect development in ways that don't break the animal, basically in reverse. And you can't biologically expect that will ever happen. Like, this isn't even a million monkeys thing, because if you look at the whole picture of a bird, their pedomorphic trajectory with making the face so relatively small is driving a tremendous amount of other morphological change. So like basically the first thing you'd need to do is make a bird that does not have a strong drive toward pedomorphic morphology. And that might not even be compatible with like gestating in the egg. right? Like it might be that they can't incubate for long enough then, and then they never hatch. You can get convergence back towards some sort of other like similar body plan. Like I would say terror birds are one of the times you start to see birds going back toward the idea of being a terrestrial macro predator, but they're still obviously a bird.
Yeah, like they're niche encroaching, but I wouldn't say like morphology encroaching.
No,
really at all.
no, not really. I mean, if you squint, maybe, but like not really. Yeah. Oh, Goji, that's interesting. I think I've seen something similar, but I don't recall the exact reason.
I've not seen that. That is.
What was the thing? Sorry, I stepped away.
The gene for expressing teeth being embryonic lethal in birds. Which may be true. I don't remember. I think I've seen something along those lines, but you definitely will have cases like this, like what we've talked about in a few of our videos, where the genes in most mammals now that will give you more than 7 neck vertebrae will prevent the proper development of your diaphragm. So they're like perinatal lethal. As soon as you need to take a breath, you don't have a diaphragm, and you're not viable.
That's tough.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Thank
you, Foxtrot.
Why did Wilson just snipe?
Oh, I have a Wilson snipe, and whenever I use it, everyone gets to draw a bird.
Oh, I see.
Thank you, Foxtrot, for the super chat. Foxtrot has
Thank you
suggested
very
we
much.
do a watch along or review of sea monsters, especially featuring Amelia. And I think, engaging with more dinosaur documentaries is definitely something we want to do, and we're working on
Yes.
on figuring out kind of the best format for that. But it's definitely on our list.
Is that Chased by Sea Monsters?
No, that's the one with Dolly Korean Cops. It's like the Western Seaway. I want
Interior Seaway one.
I want
think
to
I
do Chased
saw
by
that.
Sea Monsters as well. I saw that in theaters.
Yeah,
I think I saw that
same.
in theaters too when I was a wee lad.
Yeah, it was one of those like IMAX museum movies.
Wait, did I just?
I saw it in
give
just
up
like
my
a
turn?
movie
No, I
theater.
didn't. Okay.
In a movie theater?
Yeah, bizarrely, like in just like a regular movie theater, and it was the first movie in a regular movie theater that I saw that used the like the new 3D technology that wasn't the red blue lenses, but that was the polarized lenses. And so it was the first time I saw anything in 3D where that wasn't in an IMAX theater, where I was like, oh wow, it actually looks good.
Interesting, because it's not long. It's like a half hour or something like that.
No, it isn't long. I don't remember. I mean, I was a child, so I didn't pay attention. Maybe my mom would remember. I don't know if they charged full movie price for that.
I imagine your mom. That might be something that your mom remembers of just like went to see a 15-minute movie and they charged us. Well, it was back in the 90s, so like a lot of money was like $3. So
Okay.
Have any of us been in a documentary? Not really.
No, not really.
was-
no, not wait. What do you mean?
Like we haven't been featured in a documentary.
No.
No. But when you said not really, what do you mean by that?
Have you been like
Alex.
partially in one, Alex?
Oh no. I mean, I'm just thinking of like people have been asked to advise on stuff.
Oh yeah.
Also,
No, I have not
thank you,
been.
Cody Bishop.
Hope maybe someday.
Maybe someday.
Soon.
Documentary makers.
Hit us up.
They put one of my dinosaurs in one.
Criminoli. I don't know what to do here, folks.
I guess that's the closest that any of us have come.
Well, all right, easy there. Us, James and I. Joking. We love.
Alex
we're,
has been
we're all friends
extra
here.
mean to me today.
I have not been. I sent
He's been
something
a
in.
completely traditional amount of mean to you today.
Oh yeah,
I-
that's actually a very good point.
In my defense, I sent something in response to something Scott sent earlier, which I read light, and I realized upon sending did not seem light. It's because I was
it
trying to
didn't
avoid saying
seem-
something else.
Okay.
I was like, let's change it up.
I really like that was your attempt at being light.
He was trying really hard.
He was trying
Listen.
so hard.
I tried.
He
The
sure did.
It doesn't even
Treb
matter.
has asked what are our thoughts on heterodontosaurs as bagel. as
bagel.
as bagels, and I don't think they'd make good bagels. No, what are our thoughts on them as basal pachycephalosaurs?
Ooh.
Oh,
I think they're probably not that.
I don't think they're that either.
Yeah, probably not, but more just like a timing thing
What
in my mind.
Like, you mean because of how like long that would mean the ghost lineage is?
Well,
Not even that, but just like in terms of like when we recover them. Like it's not simply that it's making a ghost lineage. It just is like fairly parsimonious morphologically and temporally that they're just early ornithischians.
Yeah.
yeah, like I mean, we have early ceratopsians, like stuff like Yinlong and stuff, and like
Yeah.
you squint and that looks like a basal pachycephalosaur, right? They've got like what I imagine would look like they're bipedal. They've got like a little head shelf. Heterodinosaurs are pretty. They got some stuff going on,
Yeah.
and also have gastralia.
Drinker was suggested recently to potentially be a very basal pachycephalosaur, Nathan.
Yes,
And that
by
would
Susie
that would
Maidman.
be a time where you'd expect them to be
Yeah.
around. Yeah.
They should be in the
I
late
would not be
Jurassic.
surprised.
Yeah. Like with most things, they should be in the late Jurassic, and we don't find them enough. Oh well. Yeah, Drinker is for those confused by its name, was interpreted as a small-bodied ornithischian, maybe an ornithopod. I forget what it was exactly proposed to be. It was named after Edward Drinker Cope. And Susie Maidment, while she killed Nanosaurus, also killed Othnielia and also killed Drinker. And I think also killed something else.
No, Drinker's one of the possible.
Oh, Drinker's the only one
survivors.
Right, I forgot. Yes,
Yeah.
Drinker might be okay if
Might be real.
right.
Frutidens, Drinker, and Dryosaurus survived the purge, and now we have the new Enigma cursor.
Yeah.
And if you read Susie Maidman's paper, at least one other Morrison small ornithischian, at least, because there's something that when she's describing something. Yeah, there's something here that's like not Enigma cursor. So currently there is a unknown. Well, I guess there's always technically an unknown number of
Yeah.
small ornithischians from the Morrison Formation.
We know we've found them all.
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak personally just from going through the Peabody collections for some theropod stuff that maybe you'll hear more about later. Not today, but later in like the future. But there's so much small ornithischian stuff. There
I do hope
must
you
be
will
dozens.
Hear about it.
Ooh. Did you do another Wilson snipe?
It plays
I
at
did,
the
yeah.
beginning of every turn, right?
Well, no, every time I use my wetlands, it will go.
Oh.
Oh. Cool. I just have like no idea what I'm doing. This is
Now,
awesome.
Cody
Yeah, so-
Bishop asks.
Oh,
sorry.
I wanted to get to a question from Riley
Sorry.
Berry. So Riley Berry asks, "You made the wrist paper. Is next up to defend the wrist paper, or am I mixing up the process?" That's not exactly how it works. So you only have to defend a thesis, although some institutions require other kinds of defense. Like sometimes you need to do a thesis proposal defense, where you and depending on the institution, that can be a more or less like involved process. At some institutions, if you fail a thesis proposal defense, you are dismissed from the program. So it could be like, you've been there for a few years, you're supposed to be working on a body of work that you kind of use to carve out, like, okay, I'm going to write the full thesis on this. And if you don't like demonstrate that you've done anything, basically, or that you haven't had a decent or suitable concept for a thesis, you could be dismissed. I think that's fairly uncommon.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I know of it. It's usually not quite that big a deal, but there's usually still a defense, I think. Right?
I mean, our at least the way that they structure it here, and I think it's not tremendously unique, but at Yale, like the qualifying exam, there is a presentation component to it that is kind of like a proposal defense. It's like not named that as such, but it is, you have to pass the qualifying exam to move on to be a PhD candidate. So.
And at Yale, if you do it, they give you a master's of philosophy.
They do. Hey, don't joke about
I'm a master of philosophy.
I like
yeah,
the
so
Wilson
there's
snipe.
that, and then as James is saying, most commonly there's a defense of your full PhD dissertation, which is typically a document that consists of things that can be turned into multiple scientific publications, at like the journal level. But once you publish something in a journal, it has to go through peer review, but you don't need to do like a formalized defense of it.
Right.
Oh,
It defends itself in the peer review.
Someone has asked an interesting question. Are we done with the peer review discourse? I don't want to. And just
Yeah, I mean, just like that's how it works. Once it's reviewed, it's out, and that's it. I mean, like people, if they really disagreed, were able to, were obviously able to, like, if you disagree, you can publish a response paper where you say, I think these people were wrong. But like once the paper's out, it's out. Like we went through peer review. If you look at the time course on the paper, it was like about a year in the review process. And a lot of that time was like downtime because in that time I had to move and start a new job and all that sort of stuff. So many of those months are time where I'm not working on it. But that's the way it works, yeah.
We've got a couple super chat questions we should probably answer. The first, Cody Bishop, which thank you for the super chat, asked if any of us know or work with Dr. Scott Persons.
No, but funny enough, a friend of mine, Josiah Boyer,
Oh yeah,
who is not a paleontologist. I shouldn't have also named him. Oh well.
Full name, dox it.
Don't.
Give his address.
No,
What's his blood type?
We're not doxing him. But yeah, a friend of mine growing up, and still a very good friend of mine. He took his, I think, intro geology or like history of life course. Last semester it was offered, so he would like text me all the time, be like, "Hey, this and this," and what were we doing this weekend? We did something, and we went to the beach and we saw a horseshoe crab, and he was like, "Oh, that's a Ziphisurin," and I'm like, I can't believe that you know that. So that's my closest association. Small enough world.
Yeah, I don't know Scott Persons personally. Yeah.
And then Scott, I think when you read that, did you have something you wanted to say?
Me?
Have you met
Nope.
Scott Persons?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, but I just think all Scots know each other.
You beat me to it. I was about to say that. No, I do not know him. I was just going to say that, like, yeah, it's a small enough world that, like, everybody, like, has met like, it's like, probably ran into him at a conference sometime.
And then Foxtrot, thank you for the super chat, has asked a follow-up on our discussion of early Pachycephalosaurs. Have we found the Jacopele equivalent for an early diverging marginocephalian that has traits of ceratopsians and Pachycephalosaurs?
I would say we don't. I'm not sure we have the
Jacopele
equivalent of Jacopele. It's pretty fragmentary. I think there's some controversy. It's got osteoderms, it seems. No, we haven't. In that, currently Marginocephalia is Pachycephalosaurs and ceratopsians, and there's not like a clearly more primitive and well-defined sister group to that clade. There's stuff that sometimes falls out there. And then there are results that I can't remember if they're published, so I'm not going to say anything else.
That's good. I mean, I think ultimately, like, in your mind, like, picture like the earliest diverging ceratopsians we have, like Yinlong and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet that a very early diverging Pachycephalosaur probably also just looked a lot like that.
Or like, I guess we also just kind of don't know anything about Micropachycephalosaurus, right? Like,
we know
know
how long
nothing
its
about
name
this.
is.
It's small.
Adam Olos asks if we're confident of Marginocephalian monophyly. Pretty confident. I'm not aware of any analyses that don't recover that.
I can't think of any.
I can't think of any.
All right, I now start my turn.
Yes, it's now round 2, folks. So now the round goal
Round 2
for points is eggs in the swamp.
Give it up.
It's
for
not a swamp, it's the
round
wetlands.
2.
Wait, did James win?
No.
No. This is we're
still the
still
same game.
going.
There's
Same
4 rounds of the game.
Oh, Amelia mentioned I'm just because Amelia mentioned it in chat. Yes, if you look very closely at the cool art of Citipati, it has an open mouth. I'm going to talk about palates for 2 seconds because I
let's
studied
go.
them. But you can see the palatal fangs, which are this cool thing. Earlier we talked about how toothless groups will sometimes re-evolve tooth analogs, and some of the raptorosaurs do this too, in that they have a combination of their premaxilla and vomers that make horrible, monstrous ventral downward pointing projections off the roof of their mouth. Just horrific. So yeah, they kind of remake teeth out of bone on the roof of their mouth. It's a pretty neat little feature. That's
If by neat you mean horrifying, I hate the mouth stalactites.
It's a neat little feature, Scott.
Bad.
It is gross. It's uncool.
They shouldn't do this.
Or it's very cool.
We've been asked to play Uno, which
I win.
is very funny because it is a very early kind of formative story of some of the first times that many of us hung out in person at a conference was playing Uno, and Alex, as he intimated, forgot the rules. And so when he got to one card, we just went, Uno, I win.
That's so funny.
And Cody, I'm excited to see Superman. I've got tickets
Me
for
too.
Friday.
Beep, 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 beep. Beep, beep. Sorry, I'm looking up how much Citipati weighs because I want to find out if Amelia was insulted.
Enough to break the ice? I don't know.
Oh my god.
Hey,
Alice, I think, has asked, what is one non-Jurassic Park design of an extinct creature that you'd consider your canon version of that creature despite inaccuracies? For example, theirs is the Isles, Hypsilophodons, and Ostroraptors.
Ooh.
And I mean, for me, it's very easy. It's the Walking with Dinosaurs Allosaurus.
Ooh. Yeah.
That's just Allosaurus to me.
I don't have a good
I
answer.
have to think on this.
Oh yeah, actually that's a good blunder. Right, the Walking with Dinosaurs Coelophysis is probably.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think of ones
Amelia
that are non-walking with dinosaurs because those are
That's tricky.
those are up there for me. Man.
Amelia also mentioned the prehistoric planet Tarbosaurus in chat, and I that's a great one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wouldn't even say inaccuracies and all with that because that looks just basically right. Talking about the prehistoric planet Tyrannosaurs, the T-Rex design is based on my understanding of fossil material of T-Rex and my hours studying it. I don't think the T-Rex design from Prehistoric Planet is particularly good at capturing the animal. I think the other Tyrannosaurs are far better.
Mm-hmm.
But just for everybody just drawing the Prehistoric Planet T-Rex with a different color scheme, I don't think that's exactly what it looked like.
If anything, I
honestly,
remember
Jurassic
you saying...
Park T-Rex is probably the one for me for this question.
But
it was non-Jurassic Park.
Non-Jurassic Park.
Oh, non-Jurassic Park. Oh, God.
Now, James,
man.
what do you think about T-Rex back to the Cretaceous?
Love it.
Because that was always a contender in my brain.
I
T-Rex,
rewatched that a little
Jurassic
bit
Park.
ago because the whole thing's on YouTube.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You've never seen T-Rex?
It's an
Back
old
to the
IMAX
Cretaceous?
movie.
Yeah, it's an old IMAX movie. It rules.
It's great, yeah.
Cool.
The designs are pretty cool. I like the T-Rex in that, but I wouldn't say it's like my canon design.
Ah, okay. I know the one. I know the one that's mine. It's the Disney It's the Disney Carnotaurus.
Oh.
That's it's so much more robust. It's so much bigger than we assume Carnotaurus. Well, it's much more robust than we think Carnotaurus was, and it's definitely way bigger than we know Carnotaurus was. But that is just Carnotaurus for me.
We are recycling the bird feeder.
Oh God! Actually, I have another interesting kind of left field one. honestly, like the canon Stegosaurus that I picture whenever I think Stegosaurus is that one from the animated segment of the PBS Dinosaurs exclamation
yeah.
mark. The like I know that like everyone says the canon coloration of Stegosaurus is green with red plates, but in my head, Stegosaurus is purple with like red brown plates, because in that it's in that really weird almost experimental scene where it's the Ceratosaurus attack on the Stegosaurus from the point of view of the Ceratosaurus, where like the tail's whipping out at the camera like it's supposed to be. Yeah, it's coming at the camera like that, like it's a proto 3D movie, and it has like the really good attention to detail on like the footprints and stuff, like making it look like it was based on a trackway. And namely, it's the Stegosaurus when it's confronted by the Ceratosaurus lays its plates flat as like a defensive thing, and that's always stuck with me. Man,
Oh, you know what
it's
it is
so
for
cool.
me? And I think actually it might have been Swamp Ape and or Taylor McCoy who were talking about this on Twitter recently. The Giganotosaurus from Chased by Dinosaurs.
Really?
Yes.
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 Oh,
Yes.
that's
yes.
a good
yes.
one.
Yes. Yes. That's
I-
a very good one.
Love that design. And I was thinking the same thing when I saw their tweets about it. I don't actually remember who did the first tweet about it or if there were multiple people talking about it. That was you, Swamp Ape. Okay. I had a feeling. It's a great design, and it looks very plausible for a dinosaur. And in my head, that's still what I imagine Giganotosaurus looking like.
Huh.
Prehistoric Park Trike Amelia brings up is great, but I actually
Also great.
I just don't think there's enough inaccuracies for this. Like that's just canon because that's exactly right.
Speaking of Giga, actually, what comes to my mind as my kind of canon Giganotosaurus is just the green DK model.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
Also, everything from Prehistoric Kingdom. It's just kind of they put out a new design. I'm like, oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
They found it.
The canonical dinosaur design is what I see when I close my eyes. Because I know what they look like. I'm just not telling anyone.
Oh, Amelia, I'll raise your Zoo Tycoon Allosaurus with a Zoo Tycoon Herrerasaurus. Because they're like white tiger stripes with blue crests. They're very cool.
I would like to return to a question that was asked earlier that Amelia kind of responded to,
I'll allow it.
just because I think it's important. Someone asked about the Bone Wars and whether we would be farther along if they had never happened. To which I would say, no.
No.
In fact, I don't think the idea of what a dinosaur is really would have emerged. Like, it would probably have taken decades further for it to emerge in the same way. And allow me to explain why. So, was everything that happened during the Bone Wars good? No. A lot of it was bad. And that extends beyond, like, too many species being named, or whatever, or quote-unquote too many species being named. I'm not going to get into that right now. So, Dinosauria had been named prior, and there were all these dinosaur fossils from Europe. But, like, besides, like, a decent iguanodon and Hyleosaurus, which just, like, what the idea of what a dinosaur could be, the range of it, most of the anatomy, that was kind of hammered into shape in the minds of scientists in the period of the Bone Wars, and it also generated enormous public interest in the science. So if it doesn't happen, I don't know if you get extensive field work or museums have this push to fill their collections with giant dinosaur bones that, you know, that would see the American Museum do collection in the American Northwest or in other countries in the world. I think, you probably get a sluggish start to dinosaur paleontology.
It's
and also I don't get a few dissertation chapters.
in some ways, like, it's kind of like the space race for paleo.
Yeah,
For dinosaur paleo.
I like that. That's a
like it is like it's hard to imagine what the field would be without that happening.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't have a field, really.
Yeah.
I think the damaging... So, I mean, like, the reputation of paleo in the US definitely suffered from
Oh, lots.
that having happened. However, um, it kind of came back pretty fast. Or, I mean,
Yeah.
well, I mean, and there's still a stigma against paleontology, but I don't think that happened because of the
That's
Bone
not the
Wars.
Bone Wars anymore.
No, that's earned.
No.
Right. No, well, it's partially.
We got that one.
Well, no, it's the modern synthesis. It's the discovery of DNA, right? Like, there's nothing that makes a field look obsolete like discovering the actual machinery of inheritance and how evolution happens, and going from basically guessing what genes were to being able to like look at the structure of DNA and sequence DNA and understand evolution from genetic code. I understand completely why paleontology was seen as anachronistic. I don't think it really is, but I understand why that perception developed. We wouldn't have a field of paleontology if it weren't for the Bone Wars. And as Alex said, that push and collection happening during the Gilded Age was also really important because there were a lot of the equivalent of our billionaires now back then. And the crucial difference is that all of them were afraid of God. And because they were all afraid of God, they realized that after they killed another striking set of coal miners, they needed to donate a lot of money to a museum or a library or to a paleontologist to go have them find fossils. And
Correct.
that's what funded pretty much all of the dinosaur discovery from that period of time. Like both Osborne or both Marsh and Cope were very good about soliciting private donors. Osborne was as well later on. And, you know, the one thing anybody really has to, quote unquote, give credit to Osborne for was that he was a absolutely ruthlessly effective fundraiser for the AMH and sponsored the careers of many people less evilly racist and more intelligent than himself.
Though that's a series of stumbling blocks in hell there, James.
Right. Well, I mean, like, Barnum Brown, I'm not aware of anything very problematic about Barnum Brown. He lived in the time he lived in, so I'm sure that comes with its own stuff, but I don't think he was a eugenicist or anything. But, like, Barnum Brown being funded as a fossil collector and researcher is itself a tremendous gift to the field. And the AMH expeditions not only generated a lot of public interest, but also were done at a higher degree of scientific rigor that we are still benefiting from.
Yeah.
Like, even if the taxonomy of some, like, sauropod genera is a little bit fuzzy, we can fix that. I can personally think of different eras in paleontological history where truisms and things were established that were wrong, that are far more damaging than I think we're still going to have to do a lot of work to come back from. But I'm going to leave it at that for now.
Yeah.
So can I.
Mm-hmm.
The advent of computers.
All right.
I like that, Cody Bishop.
So Cody Bishop says, movie pitch: Jurassic Park, BC InGen. Jurassic Park BC. InGen invents time travel in 1991 to harvest dinosaur DNA. Fossil cloning was a cover-up to hide the truth and protect their secret monopoly on time travel. That's fun. That would be a fun, like...
Oh no, a good idea for a Jurassic Park movie.
And it's a secret prequel for Looper.
Ooh.
You know,
Or someone's going to make a Bones of the Earth movie.
You know, oh my gosh, this is just making me think, because like with all the reviews of Rebirth coming out, it's inevitably starting the perpetual conversation of how on earth do you even make a good Jurassic World, like Jurassic movie? And it's like, why is it so hard to make a sequel to Jurassic Park? And I think that the ultimate thing is it's difficult because they're going too big with it. I think that we need to, like, for its faults, Battle of Big Rock as just its tiny little isolated thing was fun and awesome. And I think that we need more individual personal stories in the Jurassic series where it's just like the antagonists are dinosaurs.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
like you could
So
make
someone in a
anthology series for
situation.
that.
Yeah, genuinely. Like I will always be on my pitch of I'd love a shipwreck story where people don't realize that they're on Isla Sorna and keep getting picked off by dinosaurs, and it's like gritty and a secret Jurassic Park movie, like 10 like spoilers, like 10 Cloverfield Lane, where it's like, oh, you don't really know what the hell's happening until later.
I think that would be an interesting concept, but I worry that it would be impossible to market in a way that's
No
not-
one
Oh,
would
yeah.
do this.
Right.
No one would. No one
no.
in their right mind would make this movie.
But you could just make, like, even if the audience doesn't know, or it does know, like, dramatic irony is another literary device. But but I still think there's like, there's such untapped potential in just there's dinosaurs on the mainland in Costa Rica, and InGen's trying to do a cover up. It doesn't have to be like they hire big muscly mercenaries and go kill the dinosaurs. It could be very easily like they think they know what's happening and they're sending in a group of scientists to actually figure out like how are the dinosaurs alive despite the Lycian contingency, right? What dinosaurs are actually present on the island? What's the mitigation strategy, right? You can't like just firebomb all of Costa Rica the way they firebomb the island at the end of the novel. I think there's something interesting in that. That opening scene with the compies eating the baby in the crib in Jurassic Park is incredible.
Yeah, but I don't know. Can you do a non-mass appeal dinosaur movie? I mean, you can. You can do whatever you want, but
I don't think that would be non-mass appeal. Like you don't have to do that exactly, but like have the premise be we are like looking for the dinosaurs, like we're trying to see where they're nesting or something. We're trying to just document what's around, and that's the inciting thing. And even if they're just getting chased by dinosaurs after that, it's like
sorry, also Dalton, question.
Yes. What's your question?
The special power modifier card,
Let me see.
does that have to be played with something, or can it be played in place of something?
The special power modifier card. I'm not
It's like,
sure I follow. Can I come and look?
yes, come, look. Come, Nerevar. Yeah.
Also, Kevin Preem, I want to get you in a fight with you on
Thank
this,
you,
but
I'm
I
very
don't want
smart.
to spoil Cloverfield,
You're
10
welcome.
Cloverfield Lane for everybody else. But
What
I disagree.
What about 10 Cloverfield Lane?
Kevin Preem said that 10 Cloverfield Lane is made worse by by the Cloverfield involvement, and I disagree.
Oh, I strongly agree with him.
I agree
What?
entirely. Yeah.
I disagree, but only because I don't think it was then followed up with something tremendously creative. If it had been like, this is just like the art, like the name for kind of exploratory, fun, like sci-fi horror films.
Yes,
Rather than
Sure.
them trying to lump it
Yes.
all into like the Cloverfield paradox.
that's the thing of
It's
like
not
without Cloverfield
Lane's fault.
Paradox, when it was just two movies of like we're exploring interesting sci-fi premises, when it's like all right, sure, the movie's better without the end bits. I disagree. I think that it is I think that it is a good twist that it's like, oh no, the guy's awful, and yes, there actually is bad shit out there too. Like that.
I don't
I like
Sorry.
that.
I don't mind that the ending's sci-fi. I just like its connection to Cloverfield at all.
It's
like-
it was dumb to make Cloverfield into an anthology series of some sort that never comes together or has any like. I think that I don't like the tendency of trying to link a lot of unrelated IP by being like, oh, something happens and it's kind of like that. Like I agree that I think the twist of there actually being a bad global event out there was an interesting like thing to add to the story, but I think it's specifically the Cloverfield connection. I'm like, why is this a Cloverfield movie? Like,
Yeah.
know
Again,
what I
this
mean?
is back before we knew that they were trying to make it an interconnected thing. When it was like, I liked I remember people talking about it at the time of like, oh, maybe this will be the analogy that I heard people talking about was like, oh, it'll be like the Far Cry games, where it's like not really any of the Far Cry games have anything directly to do with the events of any of the other Far Cry games, but it's more of that they have a similar tone and setting and explore similar themes.
and they have Herc.
And they have Herc. Well, the
Right.
new ones all have Herc.
Most
And
of them
the new
have
ones,
Herc.
and the
Yeah.
new ones since 3
I
is
thought Herc
what I'm
was in
saying.
2 also.
Or it would
Perk was in 2
I thought he was a returning character already
from
from
Far
2.
Cry 2.
I
I'm looking
thought
this
so.
up.
You guys
but it
remember
might also be like a Alex, you were saying.
No, that's fine.
Well, we've got
I-
2 super chats we should get to. Also,
Yes.
Alex, what do you? But Alex, finish up what you're saying.
No, it's fine. I need to think about what I'm doing with my birds.
Okay.
I was trying to get us to the super chats.
Okay. Sorry, Dalton. Do you want to do it or? Should...
Perks in Far
Oh, no,
Cry
that's
3,
fine.
not in 2.
Okay. Sorry, I stand
Well, I was
corrected.
I was going to say that I think it would be like a theatrical version of like the VHS franchise, but instead of like each one being an anthology, like it's just a whole movie of its own right.
Yeah.
But to get back to dinosaurs and birds, which are dinosaurs. Whoa. Goth Parrot in a couple super chats, thank you very much, has asked us, returning to the idea of that the dinosaurs exclamation point PBS Stegosaurus, which has like insane motion on its plate so that it can wiggle them back and forth. Goth Parrot asks if dinosaurs would have subcutaneous muscles that would allow for the skin to twitch and like wiggle the plates. And then a slight clarification, not even necessarily deliberate, organized flexing, but any kind of motion at all.
No, they probably well, I mean, we can't really know. I don't think reptiles have that. That's usually a mammalian thing.
There is in an interesting trait that is one of the like kind of weirdest holdouts for me, not fully buying into Toxicophora yet, honestly, is that the proposed scleroglossans squamates, so all squamates that aren't iguanians, their rectus abdominal muscles insert onto the skin of their bellies.
Huh.
But
really?
I don't
That's
know if
pretty
that's
cool.
happening in other reptiles.
Yeah, why not? Sure.
But there was, I'm trying to think if that new alligator like osteoderm growth paper would have any bearing on it. Not really.
No, because that's more on like the
Yeah.
like the primordium of the like what is causing the developmental centers for the
Mhm.
for the osteoderms, which is a cool paper.
It is a cool paper. I don't think that they would have like when you like something that came to mind when you wrote the question, Goth Parrot, is how sometimes if you like scratch a cat's back, like their whole back will kind of twitch and like the skin will just kind of move around. I don't know that they would do that, but I also don't think it would be inconceivable to imagine that stegosaurs would have some degree of motion in the plates and maybe control for it. I don't know. It could even be neomorphic, like it could be a new thing they evolve in association with having elaborate, displays like that. I don't know.
You know what I don't know?
What don't you know?
What I'm doing. You have some. Wait, I think we had a super chat question above, and we shouldn't miss it.
No, we should not.
Um,
A question from Riley Berry. Have you guys ever all actually unanimously agreed on anything? I feel like it's a 50-50
Yes.
split, and Amelia's the tiebreaker.
We have.
No, we have.
Most of the things we agree on are hateful, though.
We can't talk about them here.
Yes, we have we have unanimously agreed on things, but we all have different tastes about a lot of media stuff, which is usually what we're talking about or disagreeing about. I think it's what makes it fun to be friends with these guys, is that we're always arguing.
We're not always arguing. We're discussing.
So another
trick-
Wesley has asked how birds raise and lower their feathers. They have, I believe, extensions of normal skeletal muscles that insert on
Yes.
the feather quills, which is actually something that Alex and I are going to need to contend with in another paper forthcoming.
Well, those are
Blah.
not, in the context of that, those are actually not something else. Anyway, similar, related. Someone's asking about.
Yeah,
books.
Cody Bishops asks in a super chat, thank you very much, if dinosaurs got cancer or if it is modern. No, it's definitely
No.
they got cancer.
Cancer was invented in 1996. No.
By
Well,
John
no.
Cancer. Oh, on Molus Beat Meats.
You joke, but I had a family member of mine who passed.
Oh no.
Oh, great. Good content.
a little bummer, but this is an important question. And he was kind of like a holistic health nutcase, who I love dearly, but it definitely killed him. But I remember having this exact conversation with him, and he didn't believe it because he was he was convinced it was something that emerged from like modern lifestyles.
Really? Oh goodness.
Yeah. So I'm like, no. They definitely got it. I can show you the fossils. Anyway, good question.
It is a good question.
Yeah.
It could save a life.
Yeah, although it's only fairly recently that we found evidence of a concrete evidence of a bone tumor in dinosaurs. I think a lot of things have been proposed, but not a lot of it's shaken out.
It was only like the last year or two, right?
It's pretty recent. It's
Yeah.
I think when I was in
There's that ceratopsian, right?
Yeah, it's a ceratopsian.
There was a
Dalton,
hadrosaur.
you were in grad school until like a month ago.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying like in terms. I think I was in grad school when the paper was published, so it's like within the last 7 years.
Yes.
It's like the first kind of concrete. Yes, this is a cancerous tumor of the bone, but I mean, dinosaurs probably got this disease in all kinds of tissues that wouldn't leave an osteological remnant. So.
Oh yeah, of course. And there was a widely publicized idea, but I think it's probably not right, that the Gorgosaurus at the Indianapolis Children's Museum has a brain tumor. It's very well publicized. I think that was part of the sales marketing. I don't know about that.
It sounds like a true Tyrannosaur, though.
Treb asks if doesn't Big Al have a bone tumor in its foot? Big Al does have a very inflamed and enlarged toe, but I don't think that's been ascribed to be like a cancerous tumor.
No, it has not.
No, it's an Yeah, sorry.
It's something.
It's
yeah,
something.
Sure is something.
Well, yeah. So this kind of touches on something interesting, which is that in a lot of cases, the direct cause of a paleopathology is sometimes really tricky to suss out. Like, oh, obviously there was some kind of infection or injury, the bone is inflamed or swollen, or they're fused together because of something. But nailing what that something is can be tricky because different things can cause similar reactions in your body. Yeah, Nathan.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Nathan.
Riley Berry's asked a very scientific question, but it is a good question. PB and J or PB and marshmallow fluff?
I'm going to give an answer people hate.
What's it going to be, Alex?
Just PB.
That's actually mine as well. But under duress, PB and fluff. I really dislike grape jelly. I don't know.
I also don't like grape jelly. PB and strawberry jelly is pretty good, but I also am a PB and fluff person. I would have that not a ton as a kid, but every once in a while, I'd do that in my lunch.
We got a couple
ham sandwich.
A couple Fluffernutter fans.
I like marshmallow fluff. I unabashedly am a marshmallow fan. I know that's not a tremendously common opinion to have as an adult, but I like marshmallows.
Well, I have an important follow-up question for the heathens who don't like jelly here, which is...
Calls us heathens.
I do, yes.
I did. It's just grape jelly.
Okay. Well, this will possibly stay my hand on calling you a heathen. What kind of peanut butter are we talking?
I think I know the answer you want, and I don't think I'm going to give it to you. It's creamy for me.
Good choice.
I'm a chunky guy.
There you go. A man of quality.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on my mood a little bit. I think there's a time for creamy peanut butter. But as an adult, I like the crunchy stuff more. However,
and the time is when you're a child.
That time is when you're a child. I will say, as a kid, I loved, because I had a friend whose house I would go to, and his mom would make us this. And my mom did not let us buy this, a bunch of artificial chemicals mixed together and called peanut butter. But it was they would just make Skippy peanut butter, the really creamy kind. Slathered so thick you couldn't believe it on 2 pieces of potato bread. Which were things that my family, we did not have ever. So I thought this was a very exotic treat.
It's like the saying I've heard when you're having Irish soda bread is you're supposed to have so much butter on it that the butter hit your gums before your teeth hit the bread, sort of thing.
Foxtrot. I know you
Thank
said
you
this
very much,
before. Thank
Foxtrot.
you so much for your super chat, and also, that is absolutely Scott's episode. He did a wonderful job with that intro, and for omitting most references to Topo Chico that I worked into.
Cowardice.
We tried hard.
Apparently,
It was-
was what 45 minutes of Topo Chico.
It was roughly that, and it was also something that I'll say that like the reason why I omitted all of the Topo Chico things was not because I was mad that you guys were doing a bit in my episode. It was because the bit got started in our alternative intro to the Chronosaurs.
Right.
And so, to put a peek behind the curtain, as I try to stop my cat from eating plastic. Stop it! Damn it! For a peek behind the curtain, I got approval to film in the Chronosaurus display, like just 2 days or so before the episode went live, and so I was still waiting on approval from the higher ups at the MCZ for me to be able to do that. So we filmed 2 introductions, one of like Scott's able to film in here, and one of Scott's not. And in the Scott's not able to film in here one, that's when we started the Topo Chico bits. And so all of the subsequent Topo Chico bits were building off of that original one. So they had I tried to leave in like the second one and see if it worked, and it was just a big huh out of nowhere.
Right.
It was just, why the hell are we talking about this? And so I did cut them.
What I did learn from this is that if I really want a bit to be in a video, I may need to drive to Boston to jump into the Chronosaurus case with Scott with the Topo Chico.
A crisp, refreshing Topo Chico. James, you got any for the stream?
I don't actually, sadly, because
I have an
cost
hold on.
$9.
I have an inferior
San
San
Pellegrino?
Pellegrino.
Ooh, I do also want to give another peek behind the curtain to specifically, well, this is a bit of skeleton crew stuff that my fellow crew members don't know. So remember back in that episode, like I said that I would release the Topo Chico cut, and it was just a super cut of all of the Topo Chico bits, and to prove that it was 45 minutes of Topo Chico bits that I cut out of the episode. And you guys pestered me for a little while of like, work on it. And I was like, oh, I have other things going on. I'll get to it. The reason why I delayed on that was because when I was doing them, I accidentally deleted all of the Topo Chico bits, and I didn't want to have to re-download the entire thing and re-edit the whole goddamn video.
Yeah,
to
fair
get
enough.
just the Topo Chico bits so I could make you guys happy. I felt really bad about it. I did actually want to do it because I did think it would be really funny. But in the way that I edited it, I accidentally deleted it, and I felt bad. And I was just like, oh no.
Sparkling water is very good, Adamos. I'm sorry you feel like that.
I'm still not a humongous. I will not seek out like a plain sparkling water over a flat water, but I've grown to enjoy sparkling water more than a few years ago, I would say. Oh, this is a good question. From the Dino Drawer asks us, don't know if your sandwich fiends, but if you had to make a sandwich based on your mascot creatures, what would they be made of, and what would their names be?
Oh, I thought you meant
Like out
making it out of. And
I mean, I think you could interpret it that way.
You
You could interpret it that way, but based on
Listen, just carve a piece of blubber out. The blubber's the bread, the meat's the sandwich.
just a
basically
whole
already a
lizard
sandwich.
in between.
Let me tell you something.
Broke a hot dog's a sandwich. Woke a basilosaurus is a sandwich.
Actually, I just had a great idea. It wouldn't be based on Jungasukas specifically. It would be called the Shishigo Formation,
Oh,
and it would be served on a circular bun, and it would be stuffed full of, like lamb, the meat of goats and lambs, and various other birds, and to replicate the gigantic death holes from the sauropod trackways. Are you familiar with these?
Yes.
Yeah.
There'd be a lot of sauces in there for the mud, and it would be maybe I would call it the Limosaurus and Extracabilis, because that is some mud that you will be unable to pass through your body. Just the dense meat.
The mud that you can pass through your body.
You can't.
You
Inextricabilis.
can't. Yeah, sorry. You have a way with words, Alex.
You have a way with words.
Oh man, Riley Berry asked if I can finally actually just say the chimp or Nim Chimpsky's quote. Let's see. Let me pull it up and see if I can get through it.
There's no reason to do
I'm
this,
thinking about
guys.
sandwiches. I think so Ichthyosaurus, the creature in my logo, is a lizard, right? There's no lizard in the sandwich, but it's from the Solnhofen archipelago, which is like a tropical kind of fun thing. So I'm thinking about a kind of a play on like a Cubano or maybe a po' boy. But you've got Archaeopteryx there, so I think you can get some chicken. I maybe do like a mix of like fried chicken, and there's shrimp from the Solnhofen, so some fried shrimp. Do that on like a sub or like some po' boy bread with some coleslaw and some kind of light dressing of some sort. And I think you got yourself a really good sandwich. Which I guess I'd probably just call like the lithographic, because I feel like that'd be something you'd see on like a fancy sandwich menu. And it's from lithographic limestone, so that's my sandwich.
Well, this question has just made me very hungry, and I realized I've had nothing to eat.
Oh no, it's 10 o'clock.
We know what we have to do. It's fine. Later.
Are you invoking?
We're gonna have to.
We might have to invoke the deal.
Red-headed woodpecker.
I just played the red-headed woodpecker.
I'm thinking about my sandwich too. Like I outside of just like carve a slab of whale.
Well, I've got something.
Yeah, please.
Well, yeah, it's so like Gorgosaurus, right? So it's got to be a few things. It's probably got to be an enormous sandwich, right? And to be a little bit local to Canada, I'm not going to make it like an Italian cold cut sandwich or something. Obviously, I love those. I think it would have to be like Alberta beef based. And I'm thinking,
yeah.
I don't think it's big up there, but I think they'd probably like it up there. But like a barbecue beef sandwich. So like maybe burnt ends, maybe just James, like falling off the bone brisket, or falling apart brisket rather.
For a second, James, I thought you were implying that people in Alberta don't like beef, and I was like, "What are you talking?"
No.
about?
They like beef.
Yeah. It was the barbecue thing, but you were like, "I'm not sure if they like it up there." I was like, "What do you mean?
Yeah,
what do you mean?"
I don't know if barbecue is big up there, but Alex and I had
that's the thing.
Good barbecue at a restaurant called Meat.
Meat was awesome.
I remember Meat.
Meat was on there. Meat probably furnished days of gastrointestinal distress in an overly warm hotel room. But I would. We wish it
was Limosaurus and Extracabilis.
Yes, I do wish. Actually, we did go back to Meat, didn't we?
We did on
the last night.
On the last day.
Yeah,
and it was worth it. It was delicious.
It was great. So I think like an enormous, like kind of brisket-based sandwich, maybe with some pastrami as well. But I'm thinking like barbecue sauce. I think it's got to be something that's like kind of difficult to get your mouth around. Maybe like an Italian bread kind of hero roll. I think it's a hero, or a sub. You might call it. You might call it a grinder. But a long, very large sandwich that would be kind of like bleedy in its consistency. I think that would be thematically appropriate for Gorgosaurus. It also sounds good.
Yeah, that's not good.
Did I go to Bernie and the boys in Drumheller? No, but I will the next time I'm there.
The mammoth bird.
I find out in a few days if I got a seed grant from Stony Brook that would partially fund me to go back to Drumheller. I hope I got it. If I didn't get it, I'm going to be streaming a lot more.
That's a threat.
It's a threat. Gird your wallets.
I remember we went to like a little, like near the camp. I remember we got poutine. It was very good. I'm just thinking about food. At any point, should we talk about the paper? Or
Oh yeah, the paper.
eh.
Animalo said, how many teeth would you need to eat the sandwich, and would they vary ontogenetically? As a person, I can say my tooth count does vary ontogenetically because I get more teeth. But I don't normally lose them. That's it.
And that's all we'll say about that.
Yes, well, but I think between 26 to 30 maxillary teeth should do the job.
Well, James,
Yes.
does your arm get smaller when you're eating it as well?
We'll find out.
You have to have a new carpal ossification to brace your hand against the weight of the sandwich.
That's exactly what I need, and that's a wonderful transition. Thank
Good
you.
segue.
So, let's talk about the paper. Yes, thank you. People do want to hear about the paper.
Person has said.
People. We do also lose all of our premaxillary teeth, which is a necessary consequence of not having.
Oh, it's my turn.
premaxillary.
Oh, dear.
Right. It is indeed. So for the paper, so this paper kind of originated from some. Nathan, good luck on your
Nathan,
defense
good luck.
tomorrow.
Oh,
good
yes,
luck.
yes.
What, Nathan? Before you go to sleep, what time is your defense tomorrow in Eastern?
And send
time?
me the link.
I
don't
think
have it.
I think I have the link. I can send it around.
Yeah, I have actually, funny enough, another proposal defense thing that I have to go to tomorrow. So if it's not at the same time, I'll watch it.
1 p.m. Mountain is 3, I think, here.
Oh no, I'll be in the anatomy lab. You guys watch for me, okay? And Nathan,
Dalton,
I give you my best.
Do we have something tomorrow?
We've got maybe lunch, and then I'm doing a Peabody tour, but I should be able to make the defense.
Okay. What time's the Peabody tour?
1 o'clock.
Oh, it depends what group you get.
I don't think it'll take me 2 hours.
Okay. But best of luck, Nathan. You'll do great.
Yeah.
You will. All the faith in the world in you.
Anyway, it's time to talk about a paper.
the paper.
How do we want to?
Well, so
The
there's
year was 2019.
there's a part of your body between your hand and your arm
Yes.
called the wrist.
And yes, we refer to this as the wrist. So here's the story of the origin of the paper. So back in 2019, I was doing a few things that were significant. One of them was I was taking human anatomy. So what I actually now teach, I was a student in at Mount Sinai School of Medicine. And I was learning all about like the different organ systems of the body in a lot more detail. And this was inspiring me to take a slightly more detailed look at a lot of my anatomical work, because I wanted to make sure that I was really interpreting bones through the lens of their soft tissue. And so, it wasn't enough to be like, the bone is long and it's bowed versus straight, or, it expands at the end. I wanted to know what all of that meant. At the same time, I was also working on the initial draft of the Citipati monograph. Now, you may have noticed the Citipati monograph is still not published, and that's true. It will be soon. That's part of my summer plans. But I'm working on the monograph, and a monograph, for those of you who don't know, a monograph actually has a technical meaning, and we use it wrong now. A monograph means it has one author. It does not mean that the paper is very long. And I think what's happened... Yes, monograph means it's written by one person.
Mono.
Huh.
Right. Means one writer. So I think what's happened is that monographs in Paleo started usually written by one person. Like there's the Deinonychus monograph that Ostrom wrote. There's the Allosaurus monograph that Madsen wrote. Because it used to be historically like that kind of length of paper, you couldn't really write that via correspondence in the press or something. So like things that were that detailed or that involved were usually done by like a curator or graduate student at the museum that the specimen was housed in. And so monograph became synonymous with James saying the Citipati paper will be out soon gives the same energy as my dad saying he's going to go get cigarettes.
It's very
So
good.
I didn't want to bring attention to that.
No, it's very funny though. But it will be for real this time.
Sorry, one quick thing. Why would we lay eggs? What is the point
'Cause
of
you-
laying eggs?
You need eggs
need-
to get new birds.
Yeah. So Alex, you see like in the spaces to the right of the like first bird you have,
Hmm.
how there's a little egg on top?
Hmm.
That's how many eggs you have to play to put a bird in that spot.
Interesting. Good to know. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. It's also currently the like round objective is eggs in the swamp.
Ah. Oops.
Or that mountain bluebird's quite pretty.
So anyway. So monographs tended to be written by one person, and they also tended to become very long papers. And I think what's happened is that because of that, monograph has started to drift linguistically to mean extremely long basic anatomical description. And by basic, I don't mean easy, I mean like fundamental, right? It's a primary description of a specimen. I think it's also a little bit by analogy with a monolith being a big rock. I think that's why the word has changed its meaning a little bit.
I also thought it was because it was about like one thing.
That's what I always thought it was.
I see what you're saying.
Like
That-
it's
that
just
might be
describing
part of
the
it, too.
anatomy of one
Of
thing.
a
It's
single
not, like,
specimen, or sorry, a single single specimen.
specimen or like a species or like a very small hypodyme or something. But yeah. Anyway.
That would adult, and I think that like perfectly explains what I thought it was as well.
Yeah, hence why it was
Same.
always, it was like, oh, it's the Deinonychus monograph. But it's like, oh, it's just about Deinonychus.
Anyway,
Why do I have
on
to
to
draw a
writs.
bird card, or is that Scott who's drawing a bird card?
It's the end
Scott's
of the
the
round,
badger, right?
and I think I'm drawing a card, but I'm not sure. I was looking.
Oh, I
at-
see. Am I accidentally looking at what you're doing? No. Okay. There we go. Oh, Scott.
What? How did I get in last place for that?
No eggs on swamp.
I had like mini eggs.
How did I get in
I had
first?
2 eggs on swamp.
I
had 3.
I had like 5 eggs.
I had 4.
Oh well.
Wait, that doesn't make any sense. How am I?
You're not. You're the yellow duck, Alex.
Yeah. I can't read. Uh-oh.
Who's
That's not good.
blind one now?
So anyway,
Oh.
that's what a monograph is. So a monograph now means it's a very, very long paper. And I'm looking at the ulna while I'm describing it. The ulna is one of the bones of the forearm. And I look at the end, the distal end, where it articulates with the wrist. And I was trying to figure out and this is actually how it started. I was just thinking about this today. It started because I was trying to figure out, how do these arm bones go together? There's not a lot of oviraptorids where you can like very easily understand how the bones actually articulate. So I was like trying to play with them and figure it out, and I was like, maybe I just need to read more about the carpals, because if I can figure out how the carpal bones would have articulated with the wrist, but with the forearm bones, I can start to understand how these bones actually went together. And so I look up papers about the evolution of the theropod wrist, and I saw a paper that was then 5 years old, published in 2014. And it was talking about the change that happens in the avian wrist during development. And there's a little bit of paleontological integration, but basically what they find is that the normal carpal that should be on top of your ulna, or articulating with your ulna, right there, in all amniotes, is actually missing in birds. We thought it was there. There is a carpal in that position. It was very large. But developmentally, the ulnary disappears and is then replaced by another carpal, which is called the pisiform. And the pisiform is very interesting because the pisiform is a sesamoid bone. So it forms in a tendon, like your kneecap. It's not the same kind of development as the other carpals. It's in the tendon of a muscle called flexor carpi ulnaris. So I was like, that's very interesting. What's even more interesting is that the fossil evidence that they presented in that paper showed no evidence of an ulnary or a pisiform in a bunch of lineages of theropods. I think basically once you get into, like, where did they place it? Definitely by, like, Tetanurae, they're saying you're not finding any ulnary or any pisiform. Both of these things were lost. And so what they think is that both were lost early in theropod evolution. And then much later, only in birds, the pisiform is regained and then immediately migrates into the wrist joint and starts developing this really complex morphology so that it can stabilize the wingtip during flight.
Yes.
Yes.
And I have a question for Dalton, just to interrupt you for
Oh,
one
yes,
second.
that's fine.
What is that little symbol? Like the hole in the... Is that a hole in a tree?
That is a kind of nest. So you'll see on like each bird
That's what I
below
was
the
worried about.
victory points is a different kind of nest. So it's like it's saying I forget what
You need
exactly it
eggs
is.
in that kind of
You need eggs
nest.
in that kind of nest to get points for this particular objective. Yes.
All right. That's not good.
We hate to see it, folks.
We do hate to see it. I don't think I have any of those nests. All right, well, we can do a discard thing later. Sorry,
Anyway,
James.
the Pisiform is modified for flight in modern
Yes, the
birds.
Pisiform is modified for flight. So it's a V-shaped carpal in modern birds, and it kind of interlocks with the carpometacarpus like this. And so what we think, and there's a series of interesting papers from the 1990s that show this, is that because the Pisiform is shaped like this and it's anchoring to a muscle in the forearm, as the bird flaps its wing, an upward force would dislocate the hand. The Pisiform forms a kind of brace that holds it in place, prevents it from dislocating when the bird flies. What's also true is that the Pisiform, being connected so intimately to the flexor carpi ulnaris tendon, seems to set up an automatic wing folding mechanism in birds, where because of the specific architecture of the muscle and how it relates to the bones, when they bend their elbow, it exerts tension on the muscle that would then pull on the Pisiform and cause them to automatically flex or fold their wing. And this is one of a few mechanisms in the modern bird wing that seem to do these complex kinematic motions automatically. And so birds are essentially driving with all these automated rules governing their forearm kinematics, which is really, really interesting and something that has not been researched a lot, and I think should be, because it's really cool. And now I have to take my turn. So now I'm just going to say, oh, well, Treb, hold on to that question. We'll get to that in a second. But what I'll say right now is that I was looking at the wrist or the forearm of Citipati, of the holotype, and I was looking at the ulna, and it clearly had an articular surface for a Pisiform, or an ulnari, a carpal in that position at the very least, that was, according to the prior paper, not supposed to be present. And now I'm going to take my turn. And Alex, convergently, was working on something
Meanwhile,
to this project. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was segmenting the wrist of a undescribed Troodontid, which actually I think James said you say in your Twitter thread, which a mutual friend of ours is working on, and the paper we're also involved in. So keep an eye out for that. But in this work, I was segmenting this wrist and forelimb and hand, and I got to the wrist, and I was looking through the existing the literature on theropod wrists, and I was like, okay, we have this bone and we have this bone, and what the hell is that? And so I took a screenshot of it, and I just sent it to Jimbo. And this was before I had really any good... I had a lot of croc anatomy knowledge, but I was just kind of starting to get into like detailed theropod anatomy with Kuru and stuff. And now I know everything. Having done finished writing an incredibly long monograph, which I now know I'm misusing about another theropod, I challenge anyone to know more about vertebral lamina than I do in this particular animal. No, but I was like, oh, I don't know what this is, and it's not in any of the literature. But James knows this part of the tree pretty well, so let's see what he has to say. And I sent it to him, and he's like, "Ha, funny that."
Right. Yes.
I've got something interesting.
And what I had interesting was I'm just gonna briefly decide to take this food, and I'll take that food. Okay, and there we go. So what I had interesting is that after noticing this in Citipati, I was walking through the collections at the AMNH, and I found this old field jacket that had been collected in the Gobi Desert, I think I probably just say in the paper when I collected it, or when somebody else who isn't me collected it, because God knows I could not have collected this on my own. because it was collected in the early 1990s. I think it was collected the year I was born. It may have been collected shortly afterward. It was collected 2 years before I was born. So
probably couldn't have done it.
I probably wasn't the one who did it. I don't think there's any way to know. So it was collected in 93. It had never been opened. Another jacket from that specimen had been opened, and it's another Citipati. It's a preserved neck and head. This other jacket just said post-crania and didn't say what was in it. But because I was writing a monograph on Citipati, the whole species, I wanted to look at every single fossil that was known, and I said, well, I need to look at what's in this one. So we cracked open the jacket. This was done by preparator Vern Lee at the AMNH, who's a great guy.
Hell yeah, love Vern.
I love Vern too. And Vern gave me this nature paper because when Vern cracked the jacket open, inside was a perfectly articulated forearm and hand of a Citipati, of this same Citipati individual who we'd already seen the head and neck from. And there was a small, little, simple carpal sitting in the position where they weren't supposed to have one. And in my recollection, this happened very shortly before Alex sent me the Troodontid image. It might have been long, like, this was 2021, which for many reasons that I don't want to get into was kind of a blur. In my,
Oh, you don't say?
It was kind of a blur. And I don't
Why?
remember.
What happened?
So it was a very, very interesting time in my life. So I don't actually remember exactly when this thing was cracked, but I didn't have a lot of opportunity to work on this because I was in the finishing phase of my PhD, and this was not going to be one of my PhD chapters. So or rather, the Citipati monograph was, but anything about this wrist bone was not. So I basically said, we got to table that project, but we got to pick that back up. It's going to be interesting. And so Alex sends me this image of the Troodontid, and then Matteo, and I sat down together and were like, I think we've got a paper here. And lo and behold, we do.
And behold, it's here.
Behold.
And yes, Kevin, it's that is the Troodontid in the paper.
Yes, the unnamed Troodontid is the one that's in the paper, and that data set is not on Morphosource because the Troodontid is not described yet. It's going to go up on Morphosource when the Troodontid is described and named. And neither Alex nor I are leading that paper, but it is in the pipeline. We're both on it, so it's going to be out probably this year. I think it'll be fun.
It'll be a neat
specimen.
one. I think, yeah.
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 So we analyzed these fossils, and based on a few lines of evidence, we think they are the Pisiform because they are kind of very small and simple. The ulnari is always, in dinosaurs, quite big and has well-developed articular surfaces because it's the largest single carpal in reptiles generally. These bones being small and featureless makes them look a lot more like early Pisiforms. And they're actually especially reminiscent of what the Pisiform looks like in mid-stage bird embryos. So as they're getting closer to hatching, the Pisiform is still very simple and small. It doesn't get big and V-shaped until pretty late. And so sorry, Alex, go ahead.
And it also looks like the Pisiforms that are known in like dinosaurs too.
Yes.
Like Heterodinosaurus and
Well, and
Coelophysis and stuff.
Other reptiles
yeah.
more broadly, like squamate pisiforms, generally, not always, look just kind of like a ball.
Yeah.
Or like a long ball.
Yeah. And Pisiforms are kind of like that in people, too. We have them. And this bone...
Whoa?
I know. And the bone, the Pisiform, is directly homologous to a human wrist bone, which is the Pisiform. The ulnari is... Let me just check my topology here again. Oh, yes. The ulnari is... If you know human anatomy, the ulnari is equivalent to the triquetrum. I don't know where exactly we change what we call all of these things.
It's a terrible thing.
But yes, we have so it's scaphoid, lunate, triquetrum, Pisiform, hamate, capitate, trapezoid, trapezium. I don't need to teach my students that for a few more weeks, so it's okay that I stumbled through it. But it's those are the names in humans, and we use a different naming scheme for reptiles, even though they're directly homologous.
A much more simple and easy to understand naming scheme.
Right. You mean the one by the radius is the radiale?
Yeah.
And the one in the middle between that and the ulnari is the intermedium? That's better. That's better. And Treb, the Troodontid is from Mongolia also. It's probably from earlier in the Cretaceous than... So Citipati is from Ukatolgod, so it's probably like Campanian. We think the Troodontid is probably from earlier, like Cenomanian, Santonian. We say this in the paper. But they're both from the Gobi Desert. Ooh, a Wilson snipe. Ooh, an American oyster catcher.
Love American oyster catchers. They're very pretty.
They are indeed. Okay. Oh, yes, I'm taking the oyster catcher. I see. Okay.
I just press buttons and birds go places.
Alex, Sci Channel had an interesting question of what do you think can be researched about the theropod foot anatomy in a similar way to hands with implications for tendons?
Ooh, it would be more difficult because there's no sesamoid like tarsal bones. So you're not going to get something in that kind of direct equivalence. But the evolution of the theropod ankle is also very interesting. Dinosaurs in particular, dinosaurs actually in general, have a very specialized ankle joint. And ankles in archosaurs are kind of one of the keys to understanding their evolutionary
Pretty simple.
relationships.
It's very simple. Yeah.
Well, it's very simple in dinosaurs, yeah. It's not too complicated, but the developmental story going on is interesting. Like, we now know the astragalus is also incorporating another carpal in... Or another tarsal, rather.
Is it getting, like, one of the distal tarsals?
No, I think it's getting... Is it an intermedium also in the tarsus?
Oh, there used to be one, but that's, like, deep in... Like, there's a whole
There's
host of
two
things.
ossifications that fuse together. I forget what the actual one is, but... Yeah. Sorry, Dalton. I don't remember...
No, there used to be a tarsal intermedium because like ancestrally the tarsus in tetrapods has like 3 proximal elements, and then there's like Olivier Repo posits that like the astragalus in modern, at least squamates, but I think in modern reptiles is like technically a neomorph because it's not fusing from those primordia. But it's the same thing. It's I think the astragalus is essentially a fusion of the like tibiale and the I think the tibiale and the tarsal intermedium, and then the calcaneum is essentially the fibulare. But there might be a bit more complex stuff happening, but that's I think well before dinosaurs.
Okay.
Or we were talking about... Oh, yes. Where were we in the story of the paper? Are we more or less?
Hold on. I'm tucking a downy woodpecker behind my red-tailed hawk, which I think ate it.
Yeah.
It did do that.
It killed it.
Rip.
It killed it.
He's bred, Jim.
Oh,
Rip.
Alice, also, let me get to your question now, because I don't want to miss it again. So Alice, I think, is asking, how well does the idea of portraying hadrosaurs as behaviorally very similar to large mammals being inaccurate? I don't... So behavior... So Alice is also asking, would they be more behaviorally unique and bird-like? My take is that large mammals are probably actually not a bad model. They're far enough removed from the actual origin of birds that I don't think they would be particularly bird-like in their behavior, or at least I don't think we should be expecting very bird-like behavior. If anything, I'd expect it to be a very unique kind of behavioral repertoire, but I think for understanding, or like rather for imagining them and depicting them, I don't think going to like large herding mammals is a bad idea.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing is, what about for like breeding dynamics? Because like this is something that James and I have talked about a couple times.
Well, yeah. Well, the
Okay.
breeding dynamics. Sorry, I just completely spaced out. I'm trying to keep tabs on chat.
No, it's all good.
And also I've got a headache that I've had all day.
Oh no.
Oh, it's okay. It's sorry. Yeah, so with breeding dynamics, like in modern mammals that are herding animals, there tends to be like a single dominant male that controls access to breed with a group of females. The males tend to be much larger, and if there are like dimorphic weapons, it'll be the males that have them, like antlers in most deer. We don't have direct evidence for that in a lot of dinosaurs. So we don't really know what the breeding system is. But
yeah, like
there's...
there isn't like in ceratopsians, like we're finding horned and unhorned ceratopsians.
Right, exactly.
No.
Dalton, did you have something?
No, I was
Sorry.
I was saying no, we're not finding them. I was agreeing.
Yeah. And I don't think we've actually got a good enough like population transect to really know if there's a body size difference between like some of these and others. Like a lot of these ceratopsian bone beds that we hear have like thousands of individuals preserved. Most of them are not excavated yet or like prepared or studied, and usually the bones are so jumbled that it's hard to assign them to individuals. Like it's not like it's just a bunch of really good skeletons all next to each other. But if you had that sort of a setup and you were able to say, like, okay, there's a bunch of these skeletons and we can identify which bones go to which individual, and some of them are enormous compared to the others, that might be evidence that we're seeing something similar. But for ceratopsians, hadrosaurs in general, we don't really see that. And so it might be that there was a little bit more of a tendency toward pair bonding or some other sort of, like, contest for, like, a social contest for mating, more than, like, a male is controlling breeding access to a group of females and is like chasing out other males or physically like dominating them in some way, because that would normally favor larger size in the males, which seems to be what happens in mammals. So maybe they're like singing or displaying or lecking or something like that. We don't really know.
Also, Wildlife Wire has brought up an interesting point. Raised an interesting question rather. With the horns of ceratopsians, Scott, we talked about male bias in mammal fossils. Do you think that that could be something with it? I doubt it would be to the point where we've never found an unhorned version of a thought to be horned ceratopsian. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the bias still exists in dinosaur fossils, but
I'm sure it does. Yeah.
I'm sure it does, but it's well, first you'd have to get a solid consensus on how to identify male and female dinosaurs, and
right. Yes, there are easier tasks, unfortunately. Okay, I'm playing a bird.
Playing a bird, folks.
yeah, and wow, now that I'm thinking about it as well, like there aren't even in other dinosaurs with seeming to be very good display structures. Like we don't even find like lambeosaurines with like more dramatic and less dramatic head crests in the same ecosystem. Well, we barely find any of them together at all. So
well, yeah, I mean that's the problem, is like we don't have an obvious population of them either, and there's not that many skulls.
Yeah,
There's we're going to let you in on a dirty secret. It's called time averaging.
Right. There's a lot of that.
And it makes basically any of this ecology stuff incredibly difficult to interpret, because something like the bone bed is great because you have a bunch of specimens from the same place, right? That died or were at least deposited in the same event, which is something. But a lot of the and this is something I see a lot, like a lot of people's idea of what these paleo ecosystems are is time averaged, which is we have different quarries from within a formation, but a formation can be deposited over, and often is, thousands to tens of thousands of years or longer. And so what we have to do if we want to interpret, what that ecosystem is something called time averaging, which is you're like, these are probably maybe here at the same time. And that's a problem if we want to make such interpretations, especially stuff like population dynamics and sexual dimorphism and stuff. It's tough, folks.
Yeah, it's tough. And Swamp Ape brings up a good point. The idea of how these animals are actually going about caring for young is really, really interesting. Like, and how precocial are they? I think the general consensus is
Very.
becoming most dinosaurs are probably quite precocial. We know that for some ornithischians, the young are living in creches, so they're living in groups of young animals. Like in Ankylosaurs, we've got pretty abundant evidence of this. We don't know if that's true for all of them. Maybe. But yeah, we don't have anywhere near the statistical power. We'd need to find something that's a subtle, like, gradational sort of difference, like male ceratopsians having larger horns. For most ceratopsians, I think you'd actually be shocked at how few good skulls there are.
Rip.
Right. And I mean, in general, for dinosaurs, like, you know, for most dinosaurs, the sample size is 1. Right? And this is something to just keep in mind if you're ever going to propose like a PhD topic or something. You can't go in assuming that you're going to be able to look for some of these kinds of quantities in anywhere near all the dinosaurs you want. Case in point, if I had like made my PhD about the evolution of the wrist, I would have been in very like dire straits for a long time, because I would have been given all of that money for nothing, because I wouldn't have been able to do the study.
Damn it! That was a really
tremendous.
That was,
There we go.
That was slick.
Because
Man,
it would have been impossible to do the study like
Without
on
moving those
preserved
colored
avian
TVs.
wrists. Like, look at the paper. I want you to look at our phylogeny. Click the link, look at the paper. See how many of those tips on the phylogeny are shown in gray. That means we could not tell what's going on Pisiform versus ulnari. And then I want you to remember that what's shown in that phylogeny are the dinosaurs for which any carpal was preserved at all. We deleted over 100 taxa from our analysis because we could not identify any carpal bones. So we originally had almost 200 species in there, and we wound up with fewer than like 85, because there are so few that have any carpal preserved at all. Microphone Styxosaurus, why the tone of surprise?
yeah.
Really
These are some serious scientists here.
Yeah, no, I did. I hope I did a nice job with it. But yeah, like, you couldn't just decide I'm going to go study the evolution of the pisiform in theropods. You had to wait for the right fossils to be available, and that's what Alex and I had. And what's actually really interesting is that the small, like, embryonic bird and primitive reptile, or more early diverging reptile, I should say, like pisiforms of these guys, allowed us to go back and reinterpret some other bird-like dinosaur fossils. So looking at like published reports of Microraptor, identified what they called an ulnari. It's actually a pisiform. Ambopteryx, the Scansoriopterygid, had an ulnari, quote unquote, as well, probably a pisiform. And I think, based on my interpretation of some figures in Anchiornis, that I think that Anchiornis has one as well. There certainly is an ossification in the right position, so we interpret it as having a pisiform also. So all throughout Panaraptora, we're seeing evidence of the pisiform being in the position it is in modern birds. There are things like Therizinosaurs and Ornithomimosaurs also that have an ulnari, but they also have a pisiform, but the pisiform is still in its original position outside the main wrist joint. So that allows us to hone in pretty close on this transformation occurring at the origin or by the origin of Panaraptora. And what's interesting is that there's something very interesting lifestyle-wise starts to happen in that group. Alex, do you want to take that?
Are you talking about a retro-inversion of the pubis? No. We're talking about flight. Buds?
Oh,
What? Flight at Panaraptora? Oh? What do you
more
mean?
possible than you think?
It maybe. At least once. No, yeah, this is kind of fun. Because you can argue about these simple pisiforms in kind of two directions if you want to. I think one side is obviously correct, but you can. But essentially what happens at some point in the Middle Jurassic, or in the early Middle Jurassic, flight evolves. War was declared, flight were declared. And we have an assemblage of little theropod dinosaurs, and this is complicated by the phylogeny, which I'll get more into in a bit. But where and when flight is evolving and how many times is kind of an open question. We know that by the time you get to Archaeopteryx plus the rest of birds, that's a single origin of flight. But there's all this stuff outside of, and like, oh, is flight evolving once in Pentaraptorans? And Pentaraptorans I should define. And this is the group that includes Oviraptorosaurs and maybe Scansoriopterigids, Dromaeosaurs, Troodontids, and Boids, Diboids. So, early members of some of these clades are known to be volant, are known to be able to fly. So obviously, early birds, that's an easy one. Scansoriopterigids, if they are oviraptorosaurs, appear to have some kind of flight, or maybe gliding, but they have these horrible bat wings. Depending on where some late Jurassic Chinese fossils go, early Troodontids appear to have some kind of flying ability. And then while the earliest dromaeosaurs, in terms of what's diverging, are these really strange, possibly semi-aquatic Halscaraptorines, and then the southern hemisphere Unenlagines, it's kind of generally understood amongst workers in this area that while these dromaeosaurs do have more primitive, have a number of primitive features, things they share with Troodontids and other birds, they're probably not representative of the primitive condition. Especially something as derived as Halscaraptor. We don't think that the earliest dromaeosaurs were semi-aquatic in that regard. But things like Microraptor kind of look a lot like Anchiornis in a few ways. So this all suggests a possible single origin of flight, and then you lose powered flight in possibly in Oviraptorosaurs, and then dromaeosaurs and things like Velociraptor and Citipati are maybe secondarily flightless. Long-winded way of saying that Pisiform, that little simple rounded wrist bone, oh, maybe it's simple and rounded in these animals we've identified them with in this paper because they're secondarily flightless. Wrong, because we identified them in Microraptor, and they look like the same.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's not they're not simple because they're secondary. They're simple because that's just
Ancestrally what they look like.
Exactly. And in ornithomimosaurs, if you look at the figure, they have a very similar looking bone, but it's on the wrist in a primitive position, and then it moves in. So, I mean, I think it's interesting that Microraptor has, is possibly flying, but has a simplified pisiform. I don't know what that means for like the degree of powered flight it has. Honestly, I'm not sure. Like what is gliding? What is powered flight? There are so many questions. What is happening with Scansoriopterigids? Are you taking something that looks like Caudipteryx, like a volant Caudipteryx, and then something horrible is happening to it? And it says, no. The patagium will do the work. Don't worry. I don't know. Anyway, I'm rambling. But that's flight. It's a mess, is what you should take away from this. We need more fossils to figure out the exact number of times that flight emerges at this point on the tree. We'll probably never know that. That's the nature of the fossil record, but also the nature of evolution. It's entirely possible there were a lot of really rapid early experimentations with flight, which are going to be pretty hard to tease apart in a phylogenetic sense. Anyway, someone else say something.
Yeah,
I'm supposed to take a turn.
Well, I mean, this is, I think, the interesting thing in the paper is what we're finding is that something we know in modern birds is a really important part of the flight apparatus. We now know appears in theropod dinosaurs right before theropods start flying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very easy to then say, So this must be a releasing innovation, right? This must be a key thing that allows dinosaurs to start flying. And indeed, that was part of how I wrote initial drafts of the paper. But we don't actually know why that would be the case. And I think
was
that's
going
an
to-
interesting thing to consider. Dalton, pursue that
Well,
further.
yes, I was going to ask because I mean I've spent a lot of time looking at wrists myself, and like you said it that like the ulnare ancestrally is, humongous and one of the more complex carpal elements, and so like if the goal, right, if the functional purpose is simply, having a large bracing element that has morphology that can accommodate like some complexity, I mean I think part of that accommodation is it being embedded in it being the sesamoid, which helps, right? But like if it like the impetus mechanically for it is partially just being this kind of big brace, like that could be like that. I don't see a reason why that function couldn't be served by the ulnare, which makes me, at least to my mind, think that maybe this replacement is happening for some other reason prior to it, and then like when it comes time to need an element, that's just happens to be what's there and it gets elaborated on.
Right. I'm going to actually need you to say that again to me because I completely missed what you were saying while I was trying to figure out what the
He's
fuck I'm
birded
doing in
up.
the game.
That is
I'm so
totally that's okay.
sorry.
Let me know when you're
Brr,
ready.
brr, brr. It's the best show. It's the
My
worst show.
brain is dying.
Let me know if you're ready to receive some information that could be harm. No, I'm kidding.
Some hard to process news.
No.
What the hell am I gonna do?
Well, we'll let James think of what he's gonna do.
I'm okay.
Okay, you ready to hear what I said again?
James.
Yes, I am.
So I'm gonna say this.
Okay.
I'll try to rephrase it a little bit, but like not accounting for the sesamoid nature of the pisiform being involved in potentially the kinematic chain of folding the wing, which
Right.
is I think very interesting and doesn't quite square the circle of my of what I'm saying here. But like you said earlier, and I've looked at a lot of wrists and I've seen a lot of ulnare, and they're pretty complex and large generally in reptiles ancestrally. So like I think the idea of you need a big element to brace the hand and it should have some complex morphology to facilitate motion. That function could be served by an ulnare, which to that end makes me think, and given that the earliest pisiforms that you're seeing in these theropods tend to have the similarly unelaborated morphology, I'll say that much, that perhaps the replacement of the ulnare with the pisiform is something that's happening earlier just for some reason. Maybe we don't know why, or maybe it's serving some function.
Non-adaptive?
Non-adaptive perhaps, and then when it comes time to fly, you need something to serve that bracing function, and the pisiform is just what's there.
I think that's very possible. The reason why it happens we'll probably never know, although I have some hypotheses that I will be pursuing with Evo Devo focused collaborators sometime soon, and we can talk more off stream about that.
Certainly.
Because I think there are some hypotheses we could test to see what's actually causing the migration of the pisiform and the replacement of the ulnare to happen. I think that if it's doing something that's enabling flight, it's probably related to the automating mechanisms, not the bracing function, just because we know it couldn't do the bracing thing. We don't know if the right ligamentous connections would have established just by moving the pisiform into the wrist. And, the pisiform also needs to be connected to the surrounding carpals to make the automating mechanism happen. So that's the sort of thing where we really need to look at reptiles and say, are there just plesiomorphic connections of the pisiform to the rest of the carpals that would have already been there? And so, once you migrated in, do you have all the tools you need of the automating mechanism? And I think that would be an important thing to establish before we would actually propose that that's really the key role that it's playing in the evolution of flight. Maybe. It certainly seems like a hell of a coincidence. And what's kind of interesting, I guess, to your point, is there's not a lot of phylogenetic space between where we still see a good, a normal ulnare, and all of a sudden it's replaced by the pisiform, and now the things are flying.
I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, it's very if we didn't have ulnares for a long range of time, and then we saw the Pisiform move in, I'd say, like, well, probably they need something in there, and the Pisiform's around, and the Ulnari's not. But it looks like this is a pretty quick event. I don't know all the answers right now, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. Dalton has not backed me into an intellectual corner.
No,
but it's an interesting thing to ponder. I think that, it certainly is suggestive that the Pisiform is important for the evolution of flight, but there's more science that we're going to have to do to know if it was, and if it was, why it was. But it sure is interesting that either Panaraptora is flying ancestrally and then becomes flightless a bunch of times, or is, like, seeing, I think, like, by some counts, 5 separate origins of flight, and possibly more, as Alex said, that are not discovered. But, like, just based on what we have now, if we assume the common ancestor was not flying, we get an origin of flight in Scansoriopterigids, we get flight evolving in Microraptor, flight evolving in Rahunavis, flight evolving in Anchiornis, and flight evolving in birds. So it'd be 5 separate origins. That's a lot. It's really interesting. And I guess the implications of that are, I think why our paper was of interest to Nature, right? The story of how you make a bird is endlessly fascinating to paleontologists and theropod specialists. It's hard to not interpret their anatomy through that lens. And so it's a really, really interesting kind of question that we've just kind of stumbled upon now. Another thing I'll say is I'm really interested in what the sequence of events is in the origin of the automating mechanisms, because the Pisiform isn't the only one. There's like 3 or 4 separate mechanisms that all seem to interact at the same time and allow for both the wing to extend and fold automatically as they move their elbow joint, which is wild.
That actually brings me. This is a question we kind of glanced over and has been in the back of my brain. But someone asked, with the Pisiform's role in wing stabilization and folding, yes. Someone asked, what is doing this in pterosaurs? What is stabilizing the pterosaur wing? And I have no idea, because I feel like there's not a lot of fine control past where their wrists are. So the entire half of their wing is their fourth finger, right?
Could part of that be the pteroid bone? I don't.
Well, the pteroid is.
It's not past the wrist, I guess. It's going the
proximal.
other way. Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if it's by virtue of having a membranous wing that has some tension to it. If that changes the mechanics at all.
Okay.
I mean, I think it would. It would be you're going to get a firm anchoring of the distal wing to the body.
Before we continue this discussion, Alex, I have an important question for you. Just as the hour grows later.
Yes.
Do you want your normal pizza?
Yes.
Do you want anything else?
No.
Okay.
What's the normal pizza?
Sprite. I like to do half plain, half pepperoni and mushroom.
Okay.
It gets the job done.
Okay, anyway, back to as we were about pterosaurs and their cool wings.
Well, so I think it must be partially the pteroid, and I think maybe... No, I think that's... Or not the pteroid, rather. I think it's the wing membrane. I think you're right that it's probably that you're anchoring the whole wing to the body. Because
and
also,
they have some kind of dynamic tensioning in the wing membranes, right? It seems to be the case.
Right.
Yes.
From the microstructure of it?
Yes, yeah, that's...
I just need to do...
Ooh, Rahonavis question. What is it, an Unenlagian, an avian, or something else? Yes.
Oh.
That's right.
I think, me personally, I've come down on the Unenlagian side of the debate, and maybe that's because my mind has been poisoned by Kathy Forrester. No, I'm joking. She wrote found it and wrote the original description in a very good osteology, and was one of my mentors as a master's student. But that's where sometimes it comes out further up the tree. I think that is probably going to be found to be kind of an artifact of earlier matrices having a harder time sorting what we're now
Early stuff
understanding
out?
to be early, kind of like the origin of flight seems to be earlier, and maybe more complex than we thought, but that's just kind of an opinion, so that could be wrong.
It's just like your opinion, man.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
A pin man. That's nothing. Scott, what was you never mentioned? What was your Basilosaurus sandwich? What were the ingredients of that?
Oh my goodness. No, I don't think I actually got around to it. I think it would have to be long, incredibly long, like one of those.
That makes sense.
One of those like novelty giant like party subs that are like 6 feet long and like unwieldy. Man, and I think that given that like Basilosaurus is long in a way that is like upsetting and weird, and like you look at that and you're just like, this doesn't look like an animal should be put together that way. I think that should also be the case for the sandwich. That I think that somehow it should be a giant novelty party sub that is also a tuna melt and huge. It's got some thickness to it. So that would be my Basilosaurus sandwich. It'd be like, why would you do this? And like, I don't know.
Horrid, thank you.
What's happening?
What do you mean?
I'm sorry, I'm talking to myself. I'm trying to place our pizza order, and it's just not it's not cooperating.
You expect me to go hungry, Dalton?
Listen, I'm also on the hook for this.
Man,
I didn't
James
have
is
dinner.
full of the what kind of nest are those?
Cavity nester.
Cavity nesters.
You got a lot of those?
Yeah.
I got
Oh,
9
what?
eggs in cavity
What?
nest.
Bonkers.
Okay.
Unconscionable.
Terrible things have happened.
Oh, that prematurely ends the round?
No.
It doesn't prematurely.
was
that
just
was
the
the
end
end of the round.
Oh. Darn it. Oh, he snuck
Go
by
to
me.
Checkout. Will you let me buy my pizza? We'll see.
All right. Well, in my defense, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Fair enough.
I just
Oh.
played one of my favorite birds of all time, the sandhill crane.
Isn't that nice?
Cranhill
Yeah.
Sane.
Every once in a while, flocks of them would like fly over my family's house back in Michigan, and God, they sound so prehistoric. They're so cool.
They're really neat.
Hello, Elwood.
I think they're good too.
It's a good bird.
I got a foot cramp, what I got.
You're wanting to come cuddle. Just make the decision. Come on. I will just kidnap you. Come here.
Oh, I've got a trophy from the game.
Oh, look at this man. Everybody say hi.
Oh, hello. The
Hi.
baby.
That's actually, and we can kind of tie that into our discussion. Yeah, so there was a paper that came out recently on Microraptor wings,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and
yes.
Oh, yeah, that was
kind of
super neat.
continues a trend of a trend of understanding, a pattern of understanding that's emerged about some like the early Paravian flight, because I think this was also kind of tested and found in Archaeopteryx, which is that it had it's reconstructed as having either a flight stroke or a type of flight that is basically unlike anything in the extant realm, and they get something similar and weird for Microraptor.
Mhm.
And I that is not particularly surprising to me. It makes sense that, you know, the early flight was probably pretty different than what it is now, and it also fits with the Pisiform being silly and simple.
Yeah.
It all works out.
Remember the famous quote from the really good movie Megalopolis?
I'm always right.
No, is this way of life the only one possible for us, or however that went? I haven't seen the movie yet. It's from the trailer. But think about that. Like,
Dalton,
is this
you're
way
gonna
of?
have to take an American Airlines flight so you can watch it.
I know. Is this way of flight?
Is that the only way
one
to see it right now?
achievable to us? I think
Yes,
so. Yeah.
James, it
Are
is.
you joking?
I'm not. I'm not.
It's not on any streamers.
It's not on any streaming. There are two ways to watch Megalopolis. Way number one, get invited to a private screening done by Francis Ford Coppola
Cool.
specifically. That is one of the only ways to do it. And the other one is it is on American Airlines flights. They must have gotten a weird, like, seemingly accidental deal, like back when it was still like being like shown in theaters, and they're the only ones. It's incredibly funny.
But in any case, what I was saying was, for Megalopolis, is this the only way of flight that's achievable to us? Which is to say that don't be surprised that the way that things, are flying today, especially in the bird realm, that there were many, permutations and riffs on that happened as it was evolving, just because that's what would have had to happen.
Yes.
Like, it works now really well for birds, and it's extraordinarily optimized, and that's not surprising because they've been doing it for 66 million years. But it had to start somewhere.
Right.
Yes. And so the upstroke thing, the position of the upstroke being on the shoulder versus the chest is, if you ever look at a skeletal or a picture of Microraptor, you know what it does not have?
A beefy sternum.
A gigantic beefy sternum with a huge keel, which is not something you get until later in birds. Which, and that almost ties back into the when do I call something a bird? If it's got a big sternum too, that helps, and I think we get those in Pygostylia.
It's just the right answer.
I can't tell if I'm doing well in this game. Like, I can literally see how everyone else is doing, and I have no idea.
It's tricky to tell on your first go around, and it's I haven't been paying as close attention as I normally do. I don't think I'm doing well at all. Actually.
I think I'm doing all right.
I have not spoiler alert, I have not been able to achieve my little personal objective in any really meaningful capacity.
No, I forgot about it until Dalton pointed it out to me.
I haven't forgotten about it. I have just been what scientists call bird cucked.
I'm gonna be so for real. I do not know if I'm achieving my personal goal because I'm not 100% sure what the symbol means. But I
should
think
tell
I am.
you. Also, like if you hover over it and make it kind of bigger
or whatever.
Yeah.
It'll show you like the victory point value that you're working for, the number, like the number by feather,
Oh.
and then underneath of
no.
it, there will be like
Oh,
a
no.
number of birds. That
No, yeah,
mix
Scott,
it,
it's bad.
And then in parentheses, the amount of points you're going to get. I'll spoil mine a little bit. Right now, mine is 1 bird parentheses 2.
Same.
Okay, well, so we're all doing about as well.
No, it's
Well, not all.
folks.
I'm doing okay.
Oh dear, not a good sign for me.
One more thing about Dakotaraptor potentially being in Unenlagian. Dakotaraptor isn't. That's just it. Also, the truism
insert
about
anything.
there's big dromaeosaur bones in there is, I think, a little misleading. There are caudals that are suggestive of like a Deinonychus-sized animal.
Nothing huge.
It's not like that. It's not like that. And the claw is not a dromaeosaurid foot claw. So it's not.
Can you say what it is, or?
Well, I don't know exactly what group it goes to, but it's clearly
That's
a
fair.
manual claw. Like it doesn't look like a dromaeosaur killing claw. It's a hand claw of something, possibly.
Yeah, the flexor,
Hanzo.
the flexor process isn't even particularly large, right?
Yeah, no, it's probably an Anzu hand claw.
Oh my gosh, I've never looked at it closely, but I just Googled it and I'm like, oh yeah, huh.
Yeah. And
I can from looking at Dalton's screen from here, you can.
Gang, if you were in their apartment.
and Milo, absolutely, Deinonychus is fairly large for a dromaeosaur, but what I'm saying is I think the truism has become there's a Utah Raptor-sized Dromaeosaur in the Hell Creek Formation. It's just that most of the material of Dakota Raptor is not Dakota Raptor. There's not a diagnosable Dromaeosaur taxon of that size in the Hell Creek, regardless, because the caudals aren't diagnostic to that level. But it's not such an enormous animal that we'd be like. It's not Utah Raptor or Austroraptor sized. Not saying it's not big relative to other things.
Need more birds.
I don't understand why I'm not currently satisfying my whatever. Who cares? Game's almost over anyway.
Alice has a question for us. Question first: choose a creature you've worked on before. If you've helped named any, then pick one of those. How would you want them to be portrayed in a theoretical dinosaur survival game? Let's say one takes the idea of trying to be a basically playable dinosaur documentary and somehow miraculously makes it good/fun.
I can get on my little soapbox of how to make a dinosaur survival game good and fun.
How's that?
Get on up there.
Absolutely under no circumstances should it have any multiplayer at all. I think that once you like it of the different dinosaur survival games where you play as a dinosaur and they are multiplayer, Beast or Bermuda, Isle, Path of Titans, they all end up on converging on just either VR chat that everybody's a dinosaur, or without incredibly strict server rules being just battle royales where it's everything's fight on site, because that's the fun way to play that game, that type of game. I think that the only way that you can make a dinosaur play as a dinosaur survival game be fun and interesting is if you have everything very specifically back end like NPC coded and stuff like that, because like at the end of the day, people like to make an ecosystem feel alive and feel like something that you would be interacting with. You need a lot of dinosaurs that are being played by that are basically, it would basically fall on the players to play a lot of boring roles. For every one T-Rex, we would need, if we were doing a Hell Creek game, for every one player playing a T-Rex, if everyone was playing, we would need like hundreds of people playing Thescalosaurus.
Yeah.
So like that is not fun. And I think that specifically finding doing something like what Saurian was trying to do, but not in the way that Saurian was trying to. I think the core idea of have it be surviving in this ecosystem that we know, some about, and trying to make that into its own unique game, because like survival game, I'm a big fan of survival games, even really harsh survival games. Like one of my most played games on Steam is The Long Dark. And I think that there are ways that you could make a dinosaur ecosystem survival game that would be a blast, but you need to have it be single player, or at the most co-op. You cannot have it be competitive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that if I was going to put any of my creatures on in one of those games, it's very easy, because they can just be like the ambient little critters you can't interact with that just kind of skitter around. So I'd put just lizards everywhere, and they're crawling up the walls, they're crawling up the trees, they're having a great time. But they're small.
I don't know. So all of my stuff's small, and like maybe Solaris.
I think Solaris could be fun.
It could be.
Yeah, runny.
Yeah,
You know,
gangly.
I guess to pivot into the because someone asked a similar question. which is Alex, what do you think of dinosaur survival games? Which I feel like I'm being baited.
I think you are.
Which is that I find them that they aren't my kind of game, is what I'll say. Because I know a lot of people like them, and that's fun, and that's fine for them. Yeah, not my kind of game, but yeah, maybe if you're like trying to survive a particularly agitated Silurus, that'll give you. Actually, I'm just thinking of how stupid and small its head is right now. A big hand could have some claws. Yeah,
big hand.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if someone could figure out how to make one of them that wasn't a tedious bore after 20 minutes, I think you could probably make any species work.
I don't know if that's possible.
Well, I think we haven't all answered the questions, but it may behoove us to answer a different question, which has just come in from Domavoy Jr. And we can return to if people have thoughts about their particular critters in a dinosaur survival game. I think
I don't. Thank you for saving me from having to have a thought about it, because I couldn't think of anything and I felt bad.
Domavoy asks, here's a more professional question. As a paleo undergrad student, would you recommend going into a master's program or straight into a PhD? And what would you say are the pros and cons? I will say right off the bat, pros and cons, what I can think of. I mean, a big pro and con is money. Almost every PhD program is funded. And so what that means is that you are getting paid to do it. It is your job. You receive a stipend, which is in effect your salary to do the work. Whereas there are fewer opportunities for master's programs that are funded. And so you may have to take on more financial burden to pay for tuition and cost of living, etc. There are funded master's programs, they're just less common. I think that's probably the biggest deciding factor, especially in the US, of what you may or may not want to do. I went straight from undergrad to PhD, and it worked out. But that being said, there were many times, especially earlier in the program, that I had wished I had done a master's. Because it does provide you a good base of research experience and helps you grow your professional network in ways that I was not able to do.
Yeah, I'm kind of a weird hybrid because I had a master's degree, but not in paleontology. So my master's was in physiology and biophysics. I actually did it here at Stony Brook because I wasn't sure that I was going to wind up as a paleontologist for various reasons. So I wound up doing a master's in physiology and biophysics because I wanted to give myself the ability to go to medical school or something if I wanted to. And then I realized while taking classes on something that I really did not find that stimulating, how much I wanted to be a paleontologist, applied for my PhD, got very lucky, and here I am. I have a YouTube channel in the same basement that I was doing my homework in for my master's degree at Stony Brook. It's amazing where things can take you. So I always generally give the advice of do a master's first. I think that the caveat to that is I would not do a master's for paleontology if you have to pay for it.
Yeah. I think that's good advice.
It is not financially worth it. You're not going to make so much money as a PhD student or a paleontologist that taking out a lot of student debt to do the master's is going to be worthwhile. It's just not it's not like going to law school where it's really expensive and then you walk out making an extremely generous salary and you can repay the loans quickly. You're going to have those loans forever. You don't need to do it. I don't recommend doing it for the master's in particular.
I think if you can do your master's in something that is related, that's going to give you useful experience, but might open up other career opportunities for you, that's maybe a stronger choice. Amelia in the comments typed this out. I'm going to just read it for anyone who's just listening, but also another thing to consider, another pro potentially of going straight to PhD versus master's is you aren't going to have to move 3 times. Typically your undergrad will probably be at a different place than your master's will probably be at a different place than your PhD. That is a lot of moving around, which is not, financially, emotionally, just it is a burden on your life that you wouldn't have to get if you forego the masters. But how you personally rank that in terms of the other considerations you're making for your life and livelihood is up to you.
Yeah. I did a master's and it gave me a huge leg up. But it was also like I was able to secure some funding for it, which barely covered my rent. And I was also able to do it at the same place I did my undergraduate degree. So with those huge, I didn't have to take out any loans. With those huge caveats, I'd be like, yes. Like if you, like everyone else said, if you have the cash, it will help you. It will take time off that, like learning basics and essentials and how to write a paper in your PhD is nice. So that's stuff you can get like a lead on in a master's, networking. But yeah, I wouldn't take out loans to do a master's degree.
Yeah. No, I would not. I would never recommend doing that. It is just not really worth it. But the master's degree can help in a lot of ways. And I mean, like, one aspect of this is that generally PhD, normal residence time in PhD is getting larger and kind of larger rapidly. Like, excuse me, I don't know why I'm so burpy right now. I must be a museum in Illinois. I'm so funny. I'm the funniest person in the skeleton crew. So the general feeling that I have is like when I started a PhD, it was normally roughly 5 years. Like that was the expected time, and I think that's been the case for a long time historically. Like a 4-year PhD was always considered pretty short. But when I
this
started,
is in the U.S.
This is in the U.S. Yes, in other countries it's different. But what I would say is that nowadays it's much more common for it to take 6 or 7. And 8 is not incredibly uncommon either. And I don't think that's not because people are getting worse at finishing them. I think it's a function of the volume of work that you need to do to contribute new stuff to science. In addition to the fact that the job market is not ever that strong. And so, like, you always need to do more. It's a constantly, like, ratcheting forward. It's the Red Queen hypothesis from evolutionary biology, is that you need to move
something
faster
you can learn
and
about in a
faster.
master's.
Right, you might, or in a PhD.
Or undergrad.
The Red Queen hypothesis is basically, as time goes on, you need to do more and more to stay still. Right? That as the world is moving around you, you need to keep doing more and more just to have the same outcome. So, like, in the 1980s even, it was rare, comparatively, for somebody to have any published papers from their graduate degree. Like, usually you started publishing your work after you got your PhD. When you were, like, a graduate student publishing a paper, that was like, holy crap, they're really, really killing it. Right? That's not the way it is anymore. I when I want to be sad, I look back and, for people who are now like luminaries of the field, the amount of work that they had published when they got tenure at their institutions is pretty comparable to what me and Alex and Dalton have out. And not combined, like individually. So like we now have bodies of work that in maybe 1992 would have been like, okay, you should get tenure at this institution, is now like, okay, you might be competitive to get a tenure track job. Right.
Aye.
Mm-hmm. And that's what the Red Queen hypothesis is saying, is that if you've got a slim job pool, like there's not a lot of them, everybody competes a little bit harder to get the jobs that do exist. And so maybe in the 1980s, it's rare for a graduate student to publish any paper, but there's still more students than there are jobs. So by the early 90s, the advisors are like, you should really have published at least one paper by the time you graduate, because that'll mean you're out competing everybody else. Then by the late 90s, it might be, well, you should try to publish like 2 papers by the time you graduate or something. When I started my graduate degree, my advisor, Mark Norell, sat me down and he said, your goal in the next 4 years should be to publish 10 peer-reviewed papers, and you will probably get a job. And I did it, and it was very hard. So anyway, that is the, like, that's, I think, one of the reasons why, like, graduate degrees are now becoming longer and longer. And I guess what I'm getting at ultimately here is that you might need to spend less time kind of getting yourself really ready to compete on the job market if you've already done a master's. And so the time angle of it may not play in quite as much, because you're probably not going to finish your PhD in 5 years anyway. It's still pretty rare. Or
Yes.
it's now pretty rare. So you shouldn't be thinking about it as like, okay, 2-year master's and 5-year PhD, or just 5-year PhD. It's probably a decision between 2-year master's and 5-year PhD, or 7-year PhD.
Or both.
Or both.
Isn't it fun?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, it could be any combination of these things.
Yeah. Amelia had another note in the chat, which is, there's considerations to make for your family situation, for like how it's going to impact them, any partners you have. That's important. Kevin Prim also noted we should mention the competitive nature of applying for programs. That, having a master's degree does give you a leg up in terms of applying for PhD programs. So like if you're dead set on the path, it can be one thing that can help you. But there's a lot of components that go into those applications and who gets selected and who doesn't, and like some of it's in your control, a lot of it's out of your control. So we can't say, without knowing like details of your situation, and even frankly knowing details of your situation, like we can't really say what's going to be the best move for you, because like there's so much that you can control in the field in terms of what the outcomes will be, furthering your education wise, career wise, and there's some stuff you can do, and then there's so much that's completely out of your hands.
Right.
So like I think our general advice might, and I don't want to speak for everyone, my advice would be make the decision that makes the most financial sense to you, that supports the goals you have in your life. Like pursue your dreams, absolutely. I think it's important to do that, but don't do that at the if the consequence of some hurdle in the road is going to be like utter financial ruin. Like have that consideration too.
Yeah, and like I don't feel like we could be I don't feel like it would be ethical for us to talk about pursuing a career in paleontology without acknowledging how difficult things can be.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hard, and
Especially now.
I'm sorry?
Especially now.
Especially now.
Well, yeah, it's particularly hard.
But it's always hard. Right. Yeah, it is a really tough job market always. And that is the way it is. That can't change. There are not enough job opportunities for paleontologists relative to the number of people who would like to be paleontologists. I do not want to ever discourage anybody from pursuing their dreams.
No.
Because I think that life is partially made better by having those dreams to pursue. Right? You should be pursuing the things that make you fulfilled and make you happy. Right? The likelihood of making it in Hollywood or in music or in acting or modeling or just any sort of visual art or even as a professional writer is also really low. And the world would be so much poorer without new directors, people like Robert Eggers or Denis Villeneuve, who are making these, exceptional movies, who are still early in their careers relatively, right? Or young authors, artists, musicians, right? It would be bad if everybody just said, well, I'll probably never make it, and didn't give it a shot. But we do encourage you to at least kind of know the odds you're up against, because it's not responsible for us to just be like, oh yeah, go for it, it'll all work out. And to encourage you to try to at least plan to not let pursuing paleo bankrupt you, and also for you to have some sort of exit strategy in case you don't find success in the field. That is not a mark on yourself. That's just how it
No.
goes. You know. And I mean, like, I've so I applied to jobs in 3 application cycles. I applied for something like between 20 and 30. I don't remember the total number. I had 1 interview, which is the job I have right now. So
Yeah, it's
that's the way it goes, right? And I'm very thankful. It's a good job. But it's something you got to be aware of. But I will emphasize in 2 of those cycles I wasn't intensively applying, but I was applying for stuff. And even applying to graduate school, I only got in my 2nd round of graduate school applications. And I've done very well. I don't think that was at the time certainly interpreted that as like I don't have potential. But here we are celebrating a Nature paper that me and Alex wrote, and Alex, I don't know how many PhD acceptances you had, but I had
3.
You had 3. I think I had 1 and 1 waitlist, but because AMNH required me to accept early, I didn't hear about 2 of them, and I think I might have come out with 2.
Well, look at
and
the
1
numbers over
waitlist.
here.
I'm sorry.
Big numbers. I said, look at Mister's big numbers over here. I had
Mr. Numbers, Mason. Look at the numbers,
No,
Mason.
I mean, I only had 1 that was operative. I later, the waitlist one, I don't think would have actually worked out anyway. But that was, but like it wasn't a no yet.
But
yeah,
I've never gotten a no.
You've never had a no? You've never not gotten a
I've never had a no from a PhD program.
Oh, I see.
But James, you mentioned celebrating this Nature paper that you and Alex wrote, which again, congratulations. We're all
Thank you.
Indeed.
very happy and excited about it. That sounded insincere. It was not. I didn't try to make it, but then I reflected instantly. But speaking of said Nature paper, we have a question that's relevant to it.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, which comes from William Womble, who asks, would the possible Hawk's frame shift with regards to the digits of birds versus dinosaurs affect the proximal elements of the forelimb?
Ooh.
And we should probably, for the sake of those who aren't aware, talk about the frame shift a little bit before discussing how it might affect the proximal elements.
Probably, yes. Ooh, I can... Wait,
Well.
I have to tuck a card. So the frame shift...
Whoa.
...is this idea that the avian wrist identity, or the avian finger bone identities inferred from development don't match what they appear to be in the fossil record. And I'm punting this off to Alex for a moment.
No. Don't make me talk about frame shift. No. Okay, yes. So in the fossil record, we can look at the hands of theropod dinosaurs, and we can tell that, or at least we think, that the reduction in fidgets,
In fingies.
in fingers, in theropods appears to happen from the side in. So primitively, dinosaurs have 5 fingers, and in theropods you lose 5 and then 4, and you have a 3-fingered hand. And there are
It'd be
dinosaurs.
very weird if it happened from the front back.
Yes.
Thank you, Scott. Valuable. Anyway, so there are fossils of kind of these transitional hands in theropods that show reduced digits 4 and 5 in dinosaurs. That suggests that this is how this happened. Birds, the wings of birds are also a fusion of 3 digits, right? But in birds, we can tell by watching them develop in the embryo that those are digits positionally 2, 3, and 4. You can see the nubbins of 1 and 5 as they develop. So this has led to, this is a seeming contradiction in the evolution of bird wings. And for a while, it was argued by the birds are not dinosaurs folks to be kind of like this insurmountable issue.
It was the only good evidence they ever came up with.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is also, it's also really only good evidence if you ignore literally everything else. Right, like it's pretty exemplar of their line of argumentation, which is like, here's this one thing. This one thing means all of the other things are convergent.
Right.
Anyway,
wait a minute. I want to just say one thing. The game is over.
Yes, it is.
oh, who won?
I think we're
Well,
about
we'll
to
find
find
out.
out.
It'll score it, yeah, as soon as you end the turn.
I bet Jim did.
Oh,
Yep.
How'd you have so many of
19.
those?
Why did you need that many?
This is unnecessary.
Hey, I came in second, and I had no fucking idea.
I'm still seeing the little score tracker go. I am not. Oh, folks. I think it's
God.
going to be bad for me. Oh, no.
Let's see. Let's see.
Oh, this is.
I win.
No, you didn't.
Wait,
Holy
no.
It's going to keep going.
It keeps going.
James, Scott and Alex tied exactly.
How?
That's impressive. That's
How?
quite impressive.
Scott, did you know what you were doing?
Yes.
That's tough for you, bud.
Kevin, it's never been more Jover. Listen, I said it before that I was getting bird cucked, and I really did. I did not get the birds I needed to get.
If it makes you feel any better, Dalton, when I played this as a board game the other weekend, I got dead last with, I think, only like 30-something points.
Oh, no.
I did terribly.
Well, Dalton,
Congratulations,
I do think
Thank
that
you.
bird cucked is just cuckooing. I
I
think
guess
that
that's
is
true. It's
just
just-
what that is.
So, what I'm noticing that I think is a little bit OP is that eggs on cards often count towards your round objectives, but then also are themselves
Get points.
counted as points.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is, and like, I don't think I would have won without that. But it makes it much easier to win.
I did try to egg max.
I do not think you would have either, James, looking at this
No.
score breakdown here.
The last round, my last 4 turns, were just putting eggs on birds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was still trying. As you could see on here, I was still very much trying to get as many birds as I could out and maximize my bird score.
Yeah, so I would have... Scott, you would have won, I think, so 66. So how do I get to 66? That would be 56. 43, or 63. So it's 16 of them.
James, if you hit details, it tells you the number.
No, I'm looking at the numbers right
okay.
now. So I would have needed to have fewer than like 4 eggs for you to win. But if I hadn't had any eggs, you would have won.
Yeah.
Right. But it was only that I remembered at the last minute that I should be egg maxing.
Yeah. And I had forgotten that eggs were counted as victory points as well.
Indeed. Well,
should we finish what we were saying about the frame shift?
yes, we should.
Let's not end that thought.
So,
Where?
do you want...
Yeah, where were we?
Yeah, well, so we were talking about the fact that that it was the only decent line of evidence that the bandits proposed.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, like, listen, even though it would have made everything else convergent, it would be a very hard thing to argue out of if, like, no, the avian and dinosaur hands are not homologous to each other would be a difficult place to be. Like, for a birds or dinosaurs hypothesis. It was legitimately an interesting and challenging thing to bring up. But the ultimate answer, and I'm oversimplifying here, is the idea that the actual primordial cell population giving rise to the avian fingers are actually the cell populations that are associated with digits 2, 3, and 4. But that they are being affected by gene regulation that makes them develop as digits 1, 2, and 3. I'm aware of work in progress that's trying to identify and nail down like where that frame shift actually happens. But it's not published yet, so I don't want to go into detail. It was thought for a while. Alex, do you know how like valid the Limosaurus frameshift stuff still is?
Not.
Not okay.
No, it's probably just like weird, almost like vestigial patterning that's happening in the Ceratosaur hands. I know that the authors of the original paper aren't particularly compelled by it anymore. It seemed like a good explanation at the time, but it also, like position-wise, does not explain a lot because there's evidence of vestigial other manual digits in earlier tetnarans, so like past the Ceratosaur split.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, no, yeah.
But yeah, so
Good thing there are other interesting things about that animal.
Right.
Yeah.
Very, very many other interesting things. And, I guess the end result is our paper doesn't really need to deal with this. Like, regardless, like, our stuff's happening further up the hand. But it's certainly interesting to think about. And it was something I was asked in review to, like, and I do mention it in the paper, like, we are explicit about which digit homology scheme we're using. We were asked to be, because some theropod researchers do actually prefer to identify the digits as 2, 3, and 4. And others prefer to identify them as 1, 2, and 3. And so basically you're going on what's our perception of what tissue population these things are coming from versus anatomically what digit are they.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, anyway, that's a game of Wingspan we just played.
That is.
It is.
That is. So I want to thank everybody for hopping on this stream at the last minute.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been fun. I really like Wingspan, actually. I think it's a very good game, and I'm glad we all
This
have
is a
it now.
blast.
It's fun. It's a really, really fun game. So I like playing it. I like the board game version, too. It's very pretty, and I'm now slightly driven to get some of the expansions.
Oh, me too.
So anyway, that is, I guess that's probably it for the stream. If anybody has a last minute super chat they want to throw in, I'll wait like a minute longer to see if more of them come in with any burning questions. But I think otherwise we're going to start winding down. So you got about a minute left. And I'll say right now, I don't want to overpromise anything, but I think it's going to happen. We're planning for a kind of special video this Saturday that's also related to this topic. So
Indeed.
I'm hoping it happens, unless I'm completely shafted by technology, like I was last night when it was supposed to be ready today. But we shall see. But anyway, I'm kind of excited. It's experimenting with a little bit of a new kind of content, and we're excited, and we hope everybody likes it.
Yeah.
Dalton, the bonus card thing that I couldn't read for the longest time because since I have my window so small,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't notice that the bonus card thing that I got was specifically for tucked card abilities. So all I could really see was just the bird on there.
Oh, no.
So I was like, okay, I get it for playing birds. So it's like, oh, okay, so I just need to play birds.
No.
So that's why I was trying to play. That was one of the reasons why I was trying to play. Man, that number really startled me
Thank
for
you,
a
Curious
second.
Tank. Yes, it
Yes,
startled
thank
me
you.
too. 20,000 would be fun. And thank you for your 20,000 IDR donation.
Yes, thank you.
And Alice, thank you for joining. I'm glad you enjoyed the stream. We are hoping to stream more and more consistently in the future. We do like doing this stuff. We just gotta think about how streaming works. And yeah, Swamp Ape, Wingspan, I agree. It makes much more sense as a board game. Like, this is a really good implementation of it digitally. But
Yeah.
I do agree that I would not
It
understand
may
what just
not
happened
be
to
as
me.
as good for watching.
No,
perhaps.
it's a good board game, though. I'll have to lure all of you to Long Island again sometime so we can play Wingspan again in person.
Yes. But we can also play it digitally.
We can.
I very much want to play this digitally with you guys.
Yes. Well, we will. But
Yeah,
now,
indeed.
now that it's been that requisite minute, I think I'm going to end the stream. So I'm going to thank everybody for
Yes.
for their support of the Skeleton Crew and for being our fans and for joining to celebrate this with us. All I'll say is that nature papers are really big deals. I've got like press interviews kind of lined up because we sent out a press release. There's going to be news features about this. Nature is the most...
The prestige.
It's the international prestige journal of science. A Nature paper is basically a kind of shorthand for you made it. And this is a really, really special moment for me and Alex. I also think it's kind of special that Alex and I, as friends who've been tight since
and
basically
colleagues.
the moment... As friends and colleagues. But we've been tight since basically our beginning in the field. Like, you know, I met you when you were a
homies.
master's student.
You did.
Yeah. And it was... I think it's nice that we got to be on our first Nature paper together.
I agree.
Very nice.
I've always heard it said before that you can judge the air quotes importance of a scientific publication by how many words are in its title.
Yes.
And it's inversely proportional.
Yes, it is. It is. And Nature gives you, I think, it's like a 75 character limit or something.
No. I mean in the journal title.
Oh, in the
like
journal title.
If it's just one word, it's like, oh, that's big. If it's like a sentence, then it's like, oh, this is something that is niche.
Right. Yeah. No, it's great and it's very exciting. So anyway, guys, thank you all.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. And we will be signing off. Thank you again. And we'll see you with our regularly scheduled content later this week.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.